Mm. All right, we are ready to go. Krrrzz's still typing something. Krrrz. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SCSL. We are so glad to be bringing you another season. Xun and I are here in the studio, in the booth, digitally bringing you the SCSL Season 4. We got the round of 32 Group A Barracks, Mighty, Sacsri, and Ample. Going on.
How you doing today, buddy? I'm really excited to get into the season of SCSL. Seems like it's getting more and more popular, a lot more traction for this event, and hopefully we can bring you a more timely delivery of these games.
Yeah, that's for sure. We're looking forward to doing a lot of casting here coming up soon. You can see all the groups here. Lots of amazing players. Some familiar names. Some new names as well. I can see True in there. That's awesome to see. We've got Scan in Group H, but today we're focusing here on Group A. Barracks, Mighty, Saxury, and Ample. So we're going to get started here pretty darn soon. Let's bring up the match. Today's matchup. Then we'll bring up the maps as well. There we go. Our first match is going to be Barracks versus Mighty. Then we're going to watch Saxury versus Ample. And our first match is, or our first map is going to be on Radion.
Right.
So
I'm really excited to see how these guys play today.
Oh yeah, for sure. First match Radion, second match Radion, and then in the winners and losers in the final match, we're gonna get a best of 3. That's a nice format, a really nice format for the round of 32. It takes a lot more time, but I think it gives the players a lot more room to shine, rather than just having a best of 1 format all the way through.
Oh, absolutely. It's certainly less brutal than the round of 24 format in ASL, where it's like maybe you play 2 best of 1s and that's it. You're gone forever until the next season. So at least these guys are going to be having a higher chance at it.
We're getting into game number 1, guys. Sorry for some of the shakiness. We're just getting into the groove here. Our first season of casting all the way through. From the very beginning here, Xun. It's exciting, really exciting to not just pop in for a couple of games or finish up a season. We actually get to watch these guys develop throughout this tournament, and I'm really curious to see who will end up winning this season.
Oh, absolutely, Sam. Yeah, it's certainly better when you can cover an entire event from start to finish like this. We can kind of follow the narrative of the players and how they develop against one another. It's just more interesting overall to both bring you those games in that way and also be able to figure out exactly how these players stack up against one another.
Well, I'm going to be favoring Barracks here, who's spawned down in the bottom left-hand corner. This man has really come into his own.
Yeah.
The winner of the previous season of the SCSL. Just a godlike Terran. Online from the online matches I've seen from him, he has been just absolutely killing it. Maybe faltering a little bit on stage, but here in the SCSL, he is kind of beyond reproach. He is way too strong.
Yeah, he's one of the best guys online. Kind of hard to deny his prowess. He's such a mechanically gifted player, and he's slowly been grinding out his decision-making skills and getting some mentorship from Light and what have you. I'm hoping this guy's really going to come into his own in these next couple of years, and we're going to have such dominant Terrans on the scene.
It's great to have some fresh faces and players who are able to compete at the very highest level. Not just Barracks here, but also Mighty. He is a strong Preuss player, an up-and-comer. Hasn't really made a splash in the ASL just yet. but he's along those names like Tyson and YSC that are just kind of on the edge there. They need that extra like 5% improvement. That's the hardest 5% to get, though.
In a zero-sum game like StarCraft or pretty much anything like, you know, football, it's just such a hard thing to get good at the highest levels of play. We see a bunker expand coming out from Barracks here on the radio. Not too surprised to see that, to go for some kind of economic play here is to be expected. But yeah, in a zero-sum game like this, the tiny little percentiles is what makes the difference. You know, it really does come down to just a few percent of like increasing some of your skill set to, you know, finally approach the next echelon of guys.
Ooh, a 16 Nexus coming down for Mighty.
It's pretty fast.
Taking a bit of greed, but you know, he did go for Cybernetic Core here. It's not like he went Nexus first. I think that Barracks may have been expecting the Nexus first, but when he gets over here and sees just a fast, semi-fast, kind of middle of the road build from Mighty, I think he's going to be pretty happy with his position. He can't really be pressured, and his CC is faster than the Nexus.
Yeah, this is a rangeless and a goonless expand from Mighty. So he's got the tech available, but never actually started the range upgrade or a Dragoon right at the start. So trying to squeeze out a little bit of economic greed here without sacrificing his safety too much. So something like a bit of pressure from Barracks might be able to still be defended.
Barracks not even going to throw down a bunker, correctly assuming that he's not going to be under any pressure at all. He catches the probe.
Ooh,
big catch there, getting rid of Mighty's probe, and Mighty will not even know that there's not a bunker here. So really, Barracks can delay that for even longer. That's going to allow him to add on more tech buildings to increase his production and throw down little extra things like, you know, a quicker academy or a quicker eBay. Anything that he feels like he needs now that he doesn't have to throw a bunch of money into that bunker.
Yeah, Barracks also attempting a delayed scout into the main base of Mighty, though. Mighty responding quite handily to that. Going to be clearing that out and now putting some pressure out onto the map with these first two Dragoons. He wants to see if there's any strong FD push coming or something like that. Losing that probe scout does make you a little bit curious about what the Terran's going to do as a follow-up. So he wants to see exactly what's going on the Terran side of the map and use these Dragoons to scout now.
We will have a bunker here coming up just in the nick of time as these two Dragoons arrive, delaying that as much as possible. Barracks has eked out every little economic advantage that he can from the situation. Mighty's going to posture as though he's going to start hitting this bunker, but I'm not sure if he has the range upgrade on the way or not. There we go. Range upgrade does finish. Double factory follow-up behind this. Barracks going to start to pump out some tanks, most likely. Give these Dragoons the shove. Let them know it's time to get out of here.
This will make Barracks feel a little bit safer as well. He sees the range finish, and now he knows, okay, this is not going to be a very fast DT play from you. I don't have to like throw down a bunch of panic turrets or get some mines out early here. So Barracks will be able to optimize his own build order and not feel so stressed. He has got this one safety turret that's coming up in case there's like some 6-minute 10 DT time. He needs to be careful with this tank though. Taking one or two more volleys extra on that would be disaster. It takes 3 volleys to kill that tank with only 3 Dragoons. But as soon as this 4th Goon arrives in a moment here, he's going to be able to 2-shot this tank.
Yeah, that Dragoon is coming up here shortly, and Barracks needs to be a little bit more careful. That one Dragoon did take quite a bit of damage, but will just be pulled back. Now with the 2nd tank coming down, he should be able to bully this away. Barracks just going to push right out here. He doesn't want to get siege mode right off the bat. That's going to slow down his other upgrades, and he'd much rather just focus on his economy and getting everything else online here rather than purchasing that pretty expensive upgrade. But he handles that without too much problem. A 3rd base coming out here for Mighty. Very quick 3rd, by the way, about 6 minutes in. This is quite punishable if by like a 3 factory or a 4 factory push.
I was literally about to say I have a feeling that Barracks might be considering a 3-tank push right now, just because of the current opening from Mighty. He's actually thinking about a drop potential as well as Mighty. Got some Dragoons chilling in the main base. So if this 3-tank push does actually come across the entire map and put some pressure on, there is a chance that it could do something to Mighty here.
Can he actually bust through with only 2 factories, though? That's pretty low production.
He just wants the pressure. He doesn't want to necessarily, you know, be successful in killing Mighty. That's very unlikely.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's going to be the case. So maybe he can catch this probe transfer over here and then come in with the tanks at a different angle. He's bringing everything over to this right-hand side. Looks like he's going to set up a kind of a push here. I'm not sure if he has any SCVs with them. I don't think he can build like a bunker or anything, but he's going to run forward, set up the mines right on top of these Dragoons. Great kill there. Picking off 2 of these Dragoons already. Setting up the tanks now as well. Oh my gosh. These hits are huge. Barracks just is coming out of the blue and catching Mighty with his pants down.
It's like a masterclass in putting on some pressure onto the Protoss player. It's exactly how you punish a fast third Nexus from a Protoss player. He's just going to tap out GG. That's kind of crazy that he managed to make this attack work with just 2 factories like that. Mighty was really thinking about a drop in the main base potential and didn't have enough Dragoons out on the periphery to defend against this.
Well, you know, he sent that observer straight across the map, and Barracks went out in a very odd direction. He went out to the left-hand side up the map, and then he went straight across, going behind the observer, and the observer just barely missed that. And so, yeah, Mighty had no idea that that was coming. He thought he had his bases covered, but that completely caught him off guard. Didn't have the observer in time to even start clearing those mines. And man, a very quick win here for Barracks. Not at all unexpected, though. This guy is the previous champion, so being able to take out Mighty here is not out of the ordinary.
Right, yeah, we kind of expect to see Barracks in this winners match coming up. Now we've got Sacsri versus Ample yet again on Radiant in game number 1. Let's get it.
Here we go on Radeon once again. Got Ample spawning here. Over in the top right, Saxury top left. I'm a big fan of Saxury, man. How about you?
Yeah, I like Saxury a lot. He's a really strong macro Zerg. Has been up and coming for a while now. It does take a long time to break through the StarCraft scene as a, an aspiring pro gamer. It takes many years of getting pounded into a sharp sword before you can start cutting back at these guys. And he is starting to do that in these recent years. He's very, very strong macro player.
Yeah, for sure. He has the ability to pump out an insane number of units. I know we talk about it sometimes, but that Sauron Zerg style, he can embody that in a real way. Other players who are capable of that, players like Hero, Action at the highest level, of course, Soul Key, but Saxury, his only real weakness is kind of this early game. He struggles with some of these timings, and that's where a lot of Terran players are actually going to take those wins. Early and mid game is when they're the strongest, and so this is one of his hardest matchups to deal with.
Yeah, he has gotten a little bit better defensively over the last year or 2, but there are still some work to be done in his play to be a much more solid player, anywhere close to the likes of someone like Hero or Sulky, who just look almost impenetrable in most of the states of game.
Yeah, it's also, of course, important to hone some of that aggressive play as well. Players like Action and Sulky have a great grasp of that, putting on the pressure and keeping the opponent guessing, keeping the opponent scared at all times that an all-in could be coming. Saxury just doesn't really have many of those tools in his tool box as far as I've seen, but maybe he's going to surprise us. I wonder how he's grown over this past season and whether or not he's going to bring out some really strong, aggressive play for us.
But he seems concerned about knowing if Ample is close positions really quickly or not. Sometimes you'll see a Zerg send their Overlord kind of right down to the 6 o'clock position here, so they can guarantee an Overlord scout in the natural on Radiant. This time around, he wants to know, okay, is Ample as close to me as possible or not? And he's going to spot this wall in from Ample and know, okay, there is a Barracks here, and he could potentially be doing a bunker rush, which, as we see, a bit of a fake bunker rush play from Ample. This isn't a very committal play from him. He just wants to force a response from Saxury and try and pull as many drones off the line as possible. Saxury is very underreacting to it, though. He's only pulling like 2 or 3 drones, so actually these Marines coming in could actually maybe get a kill here.
Let's see if he can get any sort of a kill. The drones are going to come forward, try to get this around here. Nice pullback on that first drone that was being targeted. Second Marine is about to arrive. This is when the damage starts to stack up. Great attacks there from that SCV. They're getting some damage on that drone. He does manage to shove this back. Uh-oh, one more drone pops out here over at the natural. Lings are going to come forward now, targeting down the SCV. Can he actually get it? No. SCV is still alive right now, and so this is starting to get a little bit bad. Yeah, that will finish. Oh, gosh.
Wow.
It's getting pretty dirty here, Xun. It's going to be hard for him to clean this up now.
Yeah, we see a little bit of the holes in Saxury's play and not able to deal with these early game shenanigans quite as with the same finesse as some of these other Zergs. I think the 3 drone pull was a little bit of an underreaction from him, not really respecting the chance of these Marines actually accomplishing something. He's going to now surround the bunker and try and kill that off. With only like 2 Marines in that, you can clear that with just like a handful of Lings, you know, like 7, 8 Lings should be enough to chew through that. You won't be too annoyed by this, but it's still a problem though. You've made all these Lings early, the Terran's got a wall in, you're not feeling good about this as Zerg.
No, for sure not. The natural's been delayed quite heavily. You can see there's only 1 drone mining over there. And the Spire gets set up. You can't really take this gas just yet. You can see he's got a glut of gas and really no minerals to speak of. He will take that gas, and I'm starting to feel like Saxury may be going all in with this Meadow play. It's not really his style, but it's possible that he's just being kind of pigeonholed into this play because of how the early game has gone so far.
Right, you're sending the bunker out to be made. It slightly does put a dent in Ample's economy, maybe just enough that his turret timings will be a little bit off. Maybe he can get in there with the Mutalisks and somehow do something. It's going to be hard to do that. I actually don't think he will necessarily pull the trigger on a Mutalisk all in. I think he will try and play a normal game from here. I don't know how successful that's going to be, though.
Yeah, with 4 or 5 drones there at the natural, I think it was 5. You can definitely make mutas and then get a 3rd base online. Once the money starts to pile up a little bit, eventually you will have enough minerals for that. But he's definitely going to put on a lot of pressure with this 2 base play. That is for sure. However, this is kind of a problem right now. Apple's actually going to move out, and these Lings can't delay. He's only got slow Lings to kind of follow this up. So without that speed upgrade, these Marines are going to be able to run away, get themselves into a good spot, and the Marines are still coming this direction. Oh gosh, wait a second. Ample kind of messed it up there. I'm not sure exactly what happened with him. Okay, Ling speed does finish there at the end.
I think he misclicked when sending his army over to the natural of Saxury, and the Marines went up to the 12 o'clock expansion and the medics didn't. Mutalisks now going to be trying to cut off the retreat path of these Marines. So only like 6 or 7 Marines here. You can get some pretty good snipes on this Bioforce before it reaches a nice size to actually start fighting back. This is exactly what Saxury needs to come back in this game. Suddenly Ample's the one in a little bit of trouble here, as Saxury's going to really ramp up the pressure and get on top of the production line. Now that Barracks are exposed, he has to try and leapfrog turrets towards this production zone to re-secure that. It's going to be a long time before he secures these 2 Barracks. He might even have to float these Barracks back to his main CC or something.
Wow, that's a huge mistake from Ample, not having any turrets over this position. He's going to take a massive amount of punishment because of this. Coming up right as the Marines pop out, he does get 1 Mutalisk kill, but the Mutas are coming in a long line here. He's going to eventually reinforce this, and he's not going to let go of control over these barracks. Eventually, Ample is going to have to live, like you said, just getting completely taken over here. Ample really underestimated the Mutalisk play of Saxury, how aggressive he was going to be as a follow-up here, and now Saxury taking over control with this 2 hatchery play. I thought he was going to be in a little bit of trouble, as he did have to make 1 sunken over there, but the 2 hatch muta all in is actually paying off really, really well.
Yeah, it was a really good call from you and Saxury to go for this play here. Ample was just not prepared for it. He was trying to cut a little bit on his turret production and hoping that Saxury couldn't come in here. Made a little bit of mistake with his control of the bio and got caught with his pants down. Now, unfortunately, his production line is completely exposed. He did try and keep leapfrogging these turrets to the production line over and over again, but Saxury's done really good Mutalisk control and denying that and shutting it down. GG already called from Ample. Saxury is going to be joining Barracks with us in this winners match.
Really strong timing there from Saxury to follow up that bit of damage he sustained. But really a big mistake out of Ample not securing that high ground, not building turrets there. You gotta know that Zerg player is going to be a little bit desperate, maybe going for an all-in.
Yeah.
When they're in a position like that, when the drone damage has been done, it's so tempting to just pull that trigger.
Right, yeah. Actually, for a second, I didn't think he was going to go for that. I thought he was going to try and transition with how many drones he made, but it actually made a lot of sense, especially once he caught that bow out on the map. It was like, okay, yeah, it's go time.
All right, guys, we're going to jump into our winners match now. Sacsri versus Barracks. This is a tough winners match for sure, guys. You've only just entered the round of 24, or the round of 32, excuse me. And you're already going up against the winner of the previous season. There are no seeds in the SCSL, and that's a bit of a difference between here and the ASL.
Yeah, I hope that game against Ample is enough of a warm-up for him so he can play his absolute A game. I think Barracks is going to be a much more strong contender for him to have to worry about. I don't think Barracks is just going to get his first Bioforce caught with his pants down like we saw there. I don't think a 2-hatch muta all-in is going to work against someone like Barracks either. His mechanics are just too strong to allow that to happen most occasions.
Yeah, he's not going to be making those mistakes for sure. We expect a lot out of Barracks, but you know, it wasn't too long ago that this guy was just completely underperforming. Now he's grown into a real contender. Let's see if he can keep up that performance here today and get his first seed into the round of this next round. I've actually got to keep up with exactly how these rounds work, Xun, because I haven't gone through all of SCSL yet, and I haven't looked at the Wikipedia page either because I don't want to be spoiled for exactly what happens in these games.
Well, my advice would be look at the previous season, season 3 or whatever, and then check out how that format occurred, and then you can kind of refresh how this will probably go down.
Idea.
Yeah,
I'll do that afterwards. And so we've got Barracks here in the top right-hand corner. He's going to be setting up with the 1-Rax FE. Sacsri grabbing his 12 hatch down here in the bottom right. Possibility of some pressure here. In fact, Barracks is going to send his SCV. It appears in the correct direction. We'll find that that 12 hatch could try to do a similar thing to what Ample just did in that last game. It seems like Sacsri, his weakness could be those early pressure builds, and if Barracks knows that about him, he might want to come across here and just put on a little bit of early marine pressure. Gotta force a mistake out of this Zerg player.
Yeah, I'm curious about the Overlord positioning of Sacsri right now. Like, it was starting to go over to the right-hand side, like he was scared about a potential 8-Rax. Now it's just stopped. Now it's going back over to the left again. So I think he was kind of hedging his bets in case this was an early Barracks. He was worried about losing this Overlord, but it's a pretty standard timed Barracks, so you should be able to get this Overlord safely to the correct scouting position over to the left here before it can die. Yeah, I don't know. I doubt we're going to see anything crazy out of Barracks this game. Just a really solid, straight-up play. I think he's one of those guys that doesn't need to do anything fancy to get wins under his belt.
Yeah, he's got a lot of confidence after that recent SCSL title. He actually won that over Light, his mentor, so he is feeling extremely good. Should be able to be playing at his absolute A game, looking for another title this season. Sacsri is just kind of a road bump here for him, and so pulling out, you know, really aggressive plays or, you know, taking any big risks is probably not in his best interest.
Yeah, he's doing like the safest economic greed you can go for. So he's doing like a wall-in bunker expand, take a very early command center here, now getting his gas at a much later supply. Usually you're getting your gas around like 17, 18, 19 supply unless you're going for a factory opening. This time around, though, he's taking that much later on. As you can see, he's not even finished that yet. Wants to be as greedy as possible whilst being as safe as possible. So I really do like this play from Barracks. He's not taking any unnecessary risks, but he's still managing to get a lot of greed out.
So the way that this build shakes out as a Terran, you are going to have a slightly later than 5-minute push-out timing. But quite a few more Marines. We're talking like 12 Marines maybe, rather than just a typical kind of 8 Marine timing coming across the map. And so it can kind of catch the Zerg player off guard in some circumstances. Let's see if Saxury is ready for this. If he's got a bunch of lings ready to stab and attack these Marines as they come across, maybe pick something off. He's actually going to move out. Okay. Not too many lings here. Actually, there's some lings on the right-hand side as well. Saxury had an opportunity there. If he had been bringing the other group of lings forward right as those Marines were coming out, he actually could have traded off a lot of these Marines.
Yeah, potentially, but what he was trying to do was bait out Barracks a bit further. But yeah, actually, if he had just gone for it right then and there, he would have probably killed like at least 4 of those 5 Marines with their 8 lings around. Now Barracks is coming out yet again. Saxury was ready to pounce on that, but the longer he waits, the safer Barracks is going to be. Like, there's no way these lings can do anything once these extra Marines come out. He's trying to maybe get a run by going to catch up some of these reinforcement Marines, but that's not going to really amount to too much. You will get a run by into the main base and get a full scout off of what's going on in there and see that there's no engineering bay finished yet, and see that there's an academy already spinning. So he knows roughly what's going on here, but it's not the biggest deal for Barracks letting these 2 lings in.
No, I think Barracks is going to be fine here. The scout is nice. You can see exactly what Barracks is up to in his main, and he's going to get a couple more Marines as well. This is good.
That's nice.
How are the sunken colonies done back at home, though? That's what I'm concerned about. It looks like Barracks is ready to try and dive in here. He's got the 2 medics, and I think he just stimmed up. Looks like he's going to back away, though, seeing those 2 sunken colonies, and he knows Mutalisks are on the way.
Yeah, these ling run-bys actually did a lot more than I thought they would. He's killed at least a total of like 4 or so Marines and an SCV with them. That's a pretty big deal. There's just less potency in fighting off the Mutalisk force when it finally comes online. He might feel a little bit more pressure to build additional turrets to secure his production zone and main base as a result.
I agree. Saxury's done really, really well with these early lings. Just 8 lings were made. He managed to deal some early damage, and in fact, he might be able to get in here. Oh, just barely getting that turret up online and on time. More mutas coming in at the same time. We've only got 5 now, but one of them does die, so delaying that 7 Mutalisk timing just a little bit here.
Yeah.
In fact, has those 7 mutas now and can start to look for SCVs.
Yeah, you want about 5 or 6 SCV kills to put you in a comfortable mid-game position going forward against Terran. He will try and look for that now. Hopefully Barracks is sewn up tight enough that he doesn't lose too much for free. He needs to also use his Marines to try and force these mutas away as soon as possible. It's okay to lose some SCVs, but you don't want to lose them too quickly. You want to get some juice out of these SCVs before they start dying, where you're not really making up the investment in building them in the first place. And he is getting a lot of SCV kills here.
I believe that was 4 in total. Does need a couple more to really feel comfortable. Barracks is moving out on the map now, threatening the counterattack. Oh my goodness, Saxury. Wait. Saxury.
That's a misplay.
Okay. Saxury. Clearly not quite at that highest level just yet. He does have some moments of faltering. Kind of losing a lot. And those type of moves, you only get 1 of those against Barracks.
Yeah.
And sometimes not even
like
that.
One of my games or something, how I lose my Mutalisks.
Yeah. Exactly. You're like going back to macro something. Maybe you need to throw down a hatchery or some sort of tech building. And so you move your mutas to a position that you think is safe, but Marines are just happen to be standing there. Happens to pretty much everybody, but it can't happen at the highest level. You just cannot allow the Terran to get that much momentum and kind of bruise up all your mutas or even kill some of your mutas for free. You won't be able to move out. You won't be able to take a 3rd base. They will just keep pressuring you and kind of lording over you for the rest of the game, and it's not really it's not good to lose this early game momentum. Now Saxury is going to try and steal that back. Oh my goodness, what is this? Muta actually rallied over here to the side? It's crazy.
It is. Yeah, it was rallying the mutas over here so that he could get a stronger power spike in dealing with his Bioforce and try and clean up with the Zerglings. Bit of a misplay from Saxury, not quite playing at his A game. Maybe a little bit nervous against Barracks, which is understandable. He's been playing out of his mind recently. Can't even get this expansion set up. Wants to protect this drone at all costs. That's hiding behind the mineral line. He will be able to clean up this Bioforce, but to be honest with you, Barracks has traded really well against these Mutalisks. Even though he's losing this Bioball, he killed quite a lot of those mutas.
This is what happens when you make a mistake like that. Flying your mutas into that big pack of Marines. Now the mutalist clump is not as big as it was, and the fight suddenly swings in the Terran's direction. He gets a great trade there, and the follow-up is just perfect. Barracks, he's going to put on even more pressure here. He's not slowing down at all. Marines pumping out, and a tank push is coming. So he's going to put a clock on Saxury when Saxury is already struggling to keep up with time.
Yeah, he doesn't even have lurkers finished right now. This is kind of problematic to say the least for Saxury. He does desperately need high finished with Defiler Mound and Dark Swarm to have any chance of holding off this attack. And he's barely just got some Sunkens and some lurker eggs to work with. He will be able to hold the line for the temporary being, but once these tanks start to come out, he needs like 2 or 3 tanks to have enough DPS to actually chew through Saxury fast enough. But once they do come online, it's going to be a little bit worrisome for him to have to fend that off.
Oh gosh, Saxury. He needs to actually stop these Marines coming down to bottom left. He's doing a good job of picking at this, and he's killed a lot of Marines, actually, maybe 6 Marines total. He's actually just going to let that die and go for a counterattack. I understand the sentiment here. I don't know if this is going to work. I really don't feel like it will, with tanks being made back at home already. Barracks is completely prepared for this, but he is in a desperate situation. He has to do something. And look at this. Barracks just sends like 1 or 2 Marines down to bottom left, and he sends everything back home. He knows exactly what's on the way here, and he is completely set up. Oh my goodness. The spread of Marines completely surrounding this. Immediate GG from Saxury. Perfectly done by Barracks.
I think Barracks just outclassed him in this game, it has to be said, and the mutalist control was a little bit underwhelming for him. The strength of those mutas is their mobility, so essentially you want to keep them moving at all times to keep popping up in locations the Terran can't keep up with, and if you do like let them stop for just a moment, the Terran's going to be all over that.
Saxury faltering, but can he pull it together to win in the second match, bring us to a final game? Let's see if he can turn things around here on Dominator. Jumping right in. Saxury here in the center right. And Barracks, he's here in the bottom left.
Now, this is a hard spot to defend.
Yeah.
Very hard to defend against Mutalisk in this spawn. Maybe that'll help Saxury get a win under his belt, so we can tie up this series here and go the distance. It's going to be necessary to set the tempo, because right now he's probably feeling a little bit ashamed of that performance. He definitely needs to redeem himself and actually get into his macro capabilities.
Zerg players do lose in some of the most pathetic ways.
Yeah.
You've seen that video, just like I have, Jin translation of some of the pro players, the pro Zergs, top pro Zergs, talking about kind of how pathetically Zerg players end up losing.
Right.
It's such a hard race to micro. It's such a micro-intensive race, and anytime you falter, everything can fall apart so incredibly quickly. It really does feel kind of pathetic when you end up losing in such a fashion.
It's a very flimsy race. It feels like you're building a castle on sand sometimes, and sometimes the castle stands tall, and other times it just crumbles out from beneath you. It is what it is. It's just the nature of the game. The Terrans and Protosses are a little bit more robust in holding on when things aren't quite going their way. But when a Zerg plays badly or makes a mistake or trades poorly, you really do seem to think like, oh, this guy's just an absolute sausage monkey or something, even though it's just like the way the race works.
The same token, sometimes Terrans, they feel like an absolute iron wall, like nothing can break through them. And then other times they really do crumble quickly if you're able to get on top of their production. Glass cannon armies on both sides here. So
in this matchup,
for sure. Barracks, he's going to scout over here to the bottom right. Looks like Saxury is a little confused about what's going on here. He's actually sending the... Okay, he thought that maybe there was something built in the middle, so he wanted to go and check that. The SC view is coming from an awkward angle there, and so he is going to go ahead and check. But he gets over here, he sees this Barracks, and now he knows that this is kind of a fake what Barracks is doing over at his natural. He's building a bunker over there, but this isn't really anything to be concerned about. Yeah, just 2 drones are going to be pulled off. Kind of a funky play here from Barracks, but he thought he could get away with it. He thought he could force a better response.
Well, he was trying to see if he could get something going like Ample had, where he pulled a few more drones. This time around, though, the underreaction was actually a good call there from Sacsri. This is what Sacsri was expecting in the game against Ample, but Ample, was a little bit ahead of the curve with the Marines arriving early. This time around, though, we're going to be seeing another bunker expand for Barracks. So he's saying if it's not broke, don't fix it. If he doesn't know how to react to this build, I'm just going to do it again.
The follow-up is uncertain here. He may end up going for a more teched out play, especially with the positioning on this map being what it is. Saxury, on the other hand, opening 3 hatch before gas. This is a build that we haven't seen very much in the modern era, but it was very powerful back in the day.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how Saxury's going to adjust his play now that he's playing against the exact same build, more or less from Barracks. Obviously, there could be some adjustments in this early mid-game, how he wants to transition from this. But I imagine it's going to be a very similar build order to Barracks Academy into eBay, put on some pressure, and we'll see if Saxury can make some micro adjustments to actually get this third base online and make a macro game out of it.
Let's just talk about... Yeah, nice blocking there. Let's just talk about the 3 hatch before gas style and kind of why it went out of fashion. It's been pretty well understood now that the counter to the 3 hatch before gas is the 5 racks play from Terran.
Yeah.
You just get so many bioforces online, and it's very hard to get lurkers out in time to really deal with that. So it's interesting here on this map. I don't think 5 racks is very strong. You've got a kind of a flimsy position in terms of the way your base is set up. There's lots of space behind your main mineral patches that can be abused by a good Mutalist player. So I think this is an interesting decision from Saxury, knowing that that build is not likely, that instead we're probably going to see Barracks opt for a higher level of tech in this game to make up for the fact that he can't really defend easily with turrets. Going for this 3 hatch play, 3 hatch before gas, maybe this works out for him, and Barracks is just not able to go 5 racks.
Well, slows down his tech time.
What's this Marine?
Yeah. He's doing a really tricky Marine move out. I wanted to talk about it. On this map, it's really hard to keep track of where the Marines are actually going. That's why we see lots of Zerglings running around all the map trying to find this. But Barracks still managed to thread the needle and get in there. He's forcing so many Speedlings out of Saxury, though. Saxury's going for a bit of a 3 hatch mass Speedling build to kind of combat this. And he will be getting on top of this Bioforce. He needs to shuffle those back. Has a Firebat to both block the wall and try and combat against these Zerglings. So we'll hang on to this Bioforce for the time being. I don't believe there's any Sunkens yet finished up, so Saxury's desperately trying to put on some counter pressure now and force Barracks to play reactive. We have Firebats to plug the wall. I don't think this attack will be too successful, but he is buying some precious time to actually stay alive here.
I think this is okay, right? Saxury killed quite a few Marines. Wait, where's the Spire? Okay, there's the Spire. See, it's not quite done yet. We're at the 6-minute mark. This is a 3 hatch before gas. This is how it works. You're gonna have that later Mutalist timing. Barracks only forced 1 single sunken colony, and the Lings did the job that they were supposed to. They held back that push and got a bunch of Marine kills. Not as painful to make those Lings here as Saxury as it would be with a regular 2.5 hatch.
Yeah.
Or a 2 hatch play. He's got a lot of larvae to work with, and he has a lot of minerals as well.
Yeah, and on the other side, Barracks, he doesn't have to make turrets as early, so he can obviously go into more Barracks production and throw down a lot more tech, and if he wants to early game. Oh, bit of a run by though, getting some of these Marines. Actually a big win for Saxury, if he can clear up these Marines right before the Mutalist is going to come online. There are some Firebats out as well, which means there wasn't 100% Marine production, so if he does kill more and more of these Marines, it's going to be a little bit difficult to keep the Mutalist at bay, and he's going to be making a lot of Mutalists all at once.
Looks like he has gone up to at least 4 Barracks in this game.
Yeah.
To come in immediately, Saxury diving on top. Barracks doesn't really have a strong push potential to come across the map and threaten Saxury, so he just has to come back here and hold. And this is a really tough position. There's only the 1 turret to the south of this. I think Saxury could potentially just break it. with good Mutalist rallies and good control, he may be able to get in here and just take over the main.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, Saiyan. I mean, he's done a pretty good job clearing up that bio count. The only thing is that he hasn't got a third base on the way, so he is kind of dependent on doing some damage. He's a kind of semi-all-in at best right now with Sacsri. He needs to kill so much of this bio force to make this work, and he has done a great job of that. So there's no hope of Barracks coming out onto the map and punishing him for quite some time. He's putting quite a lot of turrets as well. So right now, Barracks is correctly calling that this is a pretty all-in play from Sacsri for the time being, and he's trying to desperately hang on. It seems like Sacsri is still getting the better of the stick and killing all these bio forces, but does need some Zerglings to come in to clear out these turret positions while the Mutants zone out the Marines into the main base.
Oh yeah, Sacsri, he can sit on top of this high ground, and as the Lings come in, it's going to get worse and worse here for Barracks. Yeah, he cannot come up this ramp. He does not have the units to actually break that position, and so these Lings are going to clear out everything. This is looking more and more like a Sacsri win, boys. 3 hots before gas, making a big comeback here. I think a really smart decision from Sacsri to bring out this older build.
I like it a lot as well. It definitely does kind of deal with the kind of way that Barracks has been approaching this series thus far. It does put on the onus onto him to change things up. GG finally called, and Sacsri is going to be tying things up and going to game 3 here. I'm really curious to see how this pans out.
Putting on a good show for himself after a bit of embarrassment game number 1. He's looking good. Ready to jump into our next game now. Final match between Barracks and Sacsri will be played on Deja Vu. We're just about ready to get started here, guys. Sacsri, can he actually send Barracks to the losers match, the winner of the previous season? That would be insane, but I'm here for it, Xun. I'd love to have Sacsri go forward in this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, upsets are definitely interesting. I would love to be wrong about my predictions, thinking Barracks was just going to stomp Sacsri here.
I think that would be upsetting everybody's expectations if Sacsri managed to take down Barracks. Even Sacsri himself probably doesn't expect to win against the previous champion. Seems like a bit of a humble guy. I know that he's pretty popular as a streamer as well. Is that correct? I actually haven't ever watched his stream, but I know a lot of people show up for him.
Yeah, there's some of these guys that draw in a bigger crowd than others, has to be said. We've got Sacsri spawning in the top right here, and Barracks in the bottom left on Deja Vu. Now, this map is a little bit different from Dominator. He can't just do like tricky move outs with his bio like we saw there. Dominator is one of those maps where you can do these very weird movement onto the map to really confuse the Zerg and how to keep track of that bio. I don't think we'd be seeing any kind of fanciness like that from Barracks this time around, which also I think will mean that he won't lose so many Marines as easily to a play like Sacsri going for that 3-hatch ling into Muta there. So I think we'll have a much more standardized game, especially with the cross-map positions. We might be seeing a very long game now.
That is a possibility. Not a huge amount of bases on this map. And so going into a really long game, the options for taking more bases is either side becomes pretty limited. Like, for example, Barracks, once he takes his third, there's not a real easy 4th base location to snag. And so once he takes a 4th base, he's going to be stretching himself onto another quadrant of the map. That really exposes the Terran to a lot of risk, a lot of counterattack potential. Kind of the same it goes for Sacsri as well. Once he takes another quadrant of the map, he takes another main or natural, you'll have to spread out all the way to the other side of the map in order to get additional bases online. Does provide some interesting problems for both sides in this map, or in this matchup.
Right, and interestingly enough, Sacsri's going for overpull, so he's a little bit worried about potential 8 racks or BBS coming down from Barracks. I wonder if Barracks is going to be feeling pretty happy about that, knowing that he's got a wall in and, you know, it isn't going to be punished by this 8 racks in any way, shape, or form, and it does slow down the macro engine of the Zerg going for this overpull to be safe.
Yeah, the overpool's not going to find damage, and he built 6 slings as well, so it's even worse here for Saxury. Sending those slings out. Looks like he'll have 1 ling to chase. Maybe a drone here. No, just 1 ling in that main base. Chasing down the SCV. Forcing Barracks to micro a little bit, but it looks like this drone is going to fall as well, dude. Oh, man.
Yeah.
A rough opener here for Saxury. He is really not going to find anything, and he's going to lose this drone. That's frustrating.
Well, he's pulling out a Marine to come and chase this drone a little bit. I wonder if there's any way he can get in here and break the wall. I don't think so. It looks just too tight for him to do anything here. These 6 lings, unfortunately, going to be a bit of a dead weight for quite a while. It really does sandbag Saxury. Although he is getting this fast 3rd base online, so he will have some compensation here to try and get this gas steal as well. I mean, I'm not sure if this gas steal is necessarily worth it. It does technically slow down the timings of Barracks, but honestly, it's not really a big deal for Barracks. He's happy to just go bunker expand and not really feel the pressure.
Yeah, this is gonna give him a little vision, and it means that he knows that there's no quick factory or anything like that, but typically not how you want to play it out. If you can save the drone, that's definitely better, but in the case when you really can't save the drone, it's gonna die anyway. Maybe this is a good idea. He is also keeping tabs on these Marines. Having 2 Marines kind of in the vision does allow Saxury to kind of know mostly what's happening. And with this 3rd base online, I wonder if we're going to see Hydralisk Defiler play this game. It really does seem like that's the only way to deal with Terran when you're going for this early 3rd base.
Yeah, maybe. We won't be seeing something like that. Yeah, it can be very strong on maps like this with the high ground to work with as well. We'll have to wait and see. Barracks' gas probably delayed about 30 seconds than what he would like to of a bunker expand, so won't have that really fast stim timing or early medics. So just putting on some naked Marine pressure, which is extremely risky. I can't even believe that Barracks is doing this right now. He knows the bad news that there's going to be some Zerglings out on the map to try and surround these. He's trying to desperately get back to safety. He's not going to get back to safety in time, saying he's going to get the surround on these Marines.
Yeah, these lings are so quick, man, and they will ravage this Marine account. Early game, losing all of these Marines is absolutely brutal. Saxury can now very calmly and safely drone up that 3rd base and do whatever type of tech he sees fit. Most likely it's going to be, of course, that Spire, but it could also go into Hydras or Lurkers here really quickly early on. It's just all up to Saxury now with that early damage. Barracks not going to be coming out for some time.
Yeah, I mean, this really does go in Saxury's favor now. Like, I really do favor Saxury's game state. This looks really rough for Barracks. He can't really do anything to punish the greed of Saxury. He's going to be droning up like a madman. He can come out with this Bioforce, but then he runs the risk of a Ling run by or another surround. Then the game would just be over. So he's going to put on some pressure, just hope for the best. I'm not sure I like this play from Barracks. Actually, probably will go for a run by here.
Could go for the run by. I think there's a firebat in the wall, though. Assuming there is one there. They're not going to be able to get in with just a few lings. This Marine is kind of off to the side, not going to be sniped by Saxury just yet. But you can imagine he's probably building a few extra lings in order to get on top of this. Oh my gosh, he targets the medic. Can he actually get it? He gets the 1 medic. Very good play here from Saxury. Only having 1 medic now, it's almost impossible to break through any number of sunken colonies.
Yeah, and looks like Barracks is just going to pressure this 3rd at the natural 3rd at the 12 o'clock position and hopefully get in there. But unfortunately, like you say, Saxury's just been on time with his sunken, so not really finding anything at all. And this puts Saxury in a great macro position to finally go into his strengths and his forte of that, mid to late game macro stage. He's not so good at the early game shenanigans. But once he does get underway and get all the tech that he needs under his belt, he's a very capable player.
Oh, for sure. Saxury. He's going to be getting into just masses of production. I imagine we're going to see 2-3 macro hatches placed in the main base as he really gets rolling, and we can expect to see some Hydralisk Defiler coming out of him soon, I imagine. There is a possibility he goes for something like Crazy Zerg, you know, just throw down an evolution chamber. We haven't seen his main base for some time, but I don't think that's likely.
No.
And not likely to work against a player the caliber of Barracks either.
Right, and the Evo chamber would be too late by now. He would have had to get that much earlier, about a minute earlier or so, to make that work, to stay ahead of the opera. Because coming into natural expansion to get up these turrets, there are 4 turrets just finishing up, but there is enough Mutalisks here to actually kill this. And the Marines are waiting in the main base, so correct decision making from Sacsri to both open up the natural and punish the SCV count a little bit. He will circle around and come back for round 2 in just a few moments here.
Saxury is slowly getting into his game. There is still going to be a bit of a mid-game from Barracks, a timing where maybe he can break open Saxury on 3-base, though. With this tight 3-base formation and the style that Saxury is going for, it's a lot harder to do something like drop and just get a huge amount of damage and kind of spiral that out of control. When you've got Hydras and Lurkers everywhere, it's just so hard to actually make a drop work and break the Zerg early on. So I really like this from Saxury. Let's see how his control is with those Defilers, Lurkers, and Hydras. You can see it. A transition is underway. Barracks has a floating factory, so it doesn't look like he's going to do some sort of tank push.
No. Yeah, last time we saw him just go for 1 star, put 1 factory, bit of a tank push style. This time around, much more traditional SK Terran, it looks like. Trying to come out onto the map now, finally. Has the bio count to kind of keep Saxury at bay. Has a lot of Sunkens back at home, though. Oh, there's the evolution chamber, but there's only 1 evolution chamber, so with the den there, it means there's no possibility of crazy. So it's just going to be a normal transitional play from Saxury. Nothing too crazy from him, just standard macro stuff. Trying to swing by the main Barracks production line yet again, see if he can get some building SCVs, delay the tech timings or upgrade timings of Barracks as much as possible. Just cause as much of a nightmare for him to have to deal with back at home. There's his force out on the map, but Saxury's not too wary of that. There are Sunkens finished, so he should be fine against the initial pressure. What he's worried about is when these bio units finally regroup and come at stronger timings. He's trying to catch the reinforcements right now.
For those catches, a few Marines here in the middle of the map. Barracks does recombine that army. It's a pretty scary force that's moving over through the middle. Can it actually break through anything? Not with Lurkers finishing up. Those Lurkers are now done. There's the Defiler Mounds as well. Is that 2 Defiler Mounds, Xun?
I actually didn't see if that was 2 Defiler Mounds. I was taking a sip of water for a second. If it is, though, that's crazy. Like, getting Plague and Consume at the same time is usually the only thing you do when you're really far ahead and you just want to abuse the Terran even more.
I think he's found himself in a pretty good game state. Maybe not that good. Barracks still has a real fighting chance here. Saxury might be getting a little fancier. Maybe he just made a mistake. That is also a possibility. Thought he hadn't made a Defiler's Mound just yet and went ahead and started a second one. That's possible. Or maybe my eyes are deceiving me. That is also a possibility.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is a good slowdown on this third. Like, I mean, every time you kill like an SCV or a probe or whatever that's trying to build a base down here, it slows it down by at least 30 seconds and potentially a whole minute, because it's very rare that you instantly send a new worker to go and, you know, redo the operation. So actually, it's really annoying when you do get any kind of economic slowdown on these bases coming up. It does take like a good 30, 40, 50 seconds until you start even building that again. See, the SCV's not even actually clicked on the CC right now. Barracks having a little bit hard time doing all of his macro beats and get everything moving.
Triple hatchery in the main. Those macro hatcheries coming online now. As it is double. See, my eyes did not deceive me. I'm not crazy, Xun. You're crazy.
You're not crazy.
There they are. Double upgrades. And so he will have a Plague out kind of at a silly fast timing. So Barracks might walk up here and look for those irradiates, those first couple of irradiates, and then just get Plague right in the face.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of advantage to going for double mound like this. If you're ahead of Crazy Zerg, sometimes you'll even make double Ultralisk Cavern just to get the speed and kindness playing at once, so you can push out quicker with them. In this case, though, it does allow him to put a lot more pressure onto the Terran player. He'll come out and just start plaguing over and over again to really soften up these bio units to the Hydras. The Hydra's usually not that good against bio units, only doing 5 damage because of the small unit type of the Marines, but actually with Plague, they're like one-shotting everything, so a lot of synergy in utilizing that play. Barracks doing a pretty good job of not getting too much of his army splashed with that chili sauce, and also taking out the Defiler there was pretty good, but I don't know if Barracks can trade this well forever. Eventually, Sacsri is going to kind of explode out onto the map. I do like this attempt from Barracks, though, in getting an early 4th base. You do have to kind of double expand against this play, throw down some additional factories, and go for like three tanks at a time production to try and outscale the Zerg while getting more gas online.
Yeah, that's for sure. You need something a little bit extra rather than just Marines and vessels to deal with a play like this. Sacsri is starting to explode out on the map where things start to get a little bit scary. Now, are these vessels actually plagued? It looks like they're pretty good on health right now, and so he won't be losing those quickly. That's really what you need to do here as the Hydros Defiler player. You need to start getting value by sniping down those vessels, get the plague on them, and then you can start to take those out. Really important for the longevity of the army. Otherwise, there's going to be a ton of irradiates going down, and you're just going to keep losing Defilers constantly. Sacsri pushing down here. He's going to meet the army. Does need to pull back now. Looks like he's going to lose another Defiler here. No. Defiler does stay alive. Sacsri getting in between the army and this 4th base could move over to this side and actually shut that down. This is what I was talking about earlier, Xun. How hard it is to take a 4th here as Terran because you have to go out into another quadrant.
Yeah, it is really difficult to secure additional bases on this map. I liked Barracks' attempt here, but Sacsri's just too good, and zoning him out from accomplishing that. He's going to try and float the Barracks into the main base in the top left quadrant and try and see if he can get that online in maybe a delayed fashion and just hide it for the time being and float it back down again. This actually might work. He's floating it back down now. Sacsri's not paying attention. Maybe he can get that gas online eventually if Sacsri doesn't go back to check that. He secures some more map control. But the problem with Hydra Defiler is the Hydra's just too supply efficient. 80 HP for only 1 supply. It does make it a little bit problematic for the Terran to deal with. There's so much HP for the Marines to chew through. You kind of do need siege tanks to support this SK army, and a plague on those vessels now as well.
That's a very important plague there. Sacsri finally getting a plague on that. There's the tanks. All right, tanks making their way forward. Setting up tanks along this ring of high ground all the way around the middle is going to be very important for Barracks. Hard to get on top of those once they're over top of those ledges. And they're going to be providing that fire support, busting through some of these Hydras that are just sitting under Dark Swarm and dealing damage to lurkers as they run forward, even if they are being protected by that spell.
Oh, it's unfortunate. Sacsri's going to get the cancel in this command center in the bottom right. There are some drop ships, though, making their way to the top left to then also delay some of these expansion timings of Sacsri. Definitely going to get the cancel on that hatchery up there if he wants. Sacsri also getting some compensation on getting this CC in the bottom right, and now pushing down towards the rally point area of Barracks as well. It's a bit of a dangerous situation we have ourselves in. Barracks is kind of exposed right now. If Sacsri gets on top of this rally point with some lurkers under Dark Swarm, it does take a long time to clear that out with irradiates, and kind of sandbags the Terran from really doing anything out on the map for the meantime.
As the Marines are going to make their way down to bottom right. Sacsri is dealing with a lot, so he's not going to notice this for the time being. There we go. He does pull back some of these mutas, but that force that took out the CC down in bottom right is now gone. It really did its job, though. More lurkers pushing forward here. Another Dark Swarm, another Plague. You can shove forward a little bit further. Eric's going to have to retreat as far as he can. Another great Plague. Oh my goodness. Excellent, excellent Plagues there. And now he's going to be able to clean up this entire force, no doubt. These Hydras will be able to just annihilate this. The vessels over on the left-hand side are getting some great trades by killing off a lot of these lurkers. With just a few irradiates, he's going to get rid of a bunch of those. And this army is still looking strong. Not a lot of tanks have died, and so Barracks should be hitting kind of a critical mass here soon.
Yeah, I mean, I like that Sacsri's playing like this. I just hope he can keep it up because, I mean, this is the most mechanically demanding ways of playing this matchup, as it's a very strong, great, cost-efficient way of playing, but it does require a lot of extra mechanics to pull this off as Sacsri. So hopefully he can still hit his beats and you know, make good use of these defilers. Eventually there will be enough tanks that Barracks can really start to bring the fight to him. Now, as you can see, once you get a certain amount of tanks, it doesn't really matter. You're going to start annihilating these Zerg armies. So hopefully he can find a way of clearing up this tank count. If he doesn't, and Barracks just keeps churning out more and more tanks, once the Terran gets like 12, 18 tanks, they start to annihilate you onto that Dark Swarm.
Barracks is going to get up here and deny yet another base. Meanwhile, Sacsri are going to try and take center right while going for a bit of a counterattack. Moving over towards that bottom center. He might be able to get in there, potentially, or just shut down that base. Tank here in the middle, only with like 1 HP. This go down very quickly, but more irradiates go down, and Barracks is going to shove this back. We saw some great target fire from Barracks earlier with his tanks, shooting down these defilers before they can even get their spells off, and getting huge splash in the middle of the army. So I really like how Barracks is playing this. I love the target fire. Oh, a drop! Gets picked off. Great job by our by our observer to actually catch that.
Yeah, the only thing bad right now is that it's taken a long time for Barracks to get this 4th base, but it doesn't really matter because he's also stopped the Zerg from securing their own 4th gas. So far so good for Barracks. He's also done a good job of keeping the supply as in a deficit as possible, but he can manage about 50 or so. He's doing a pretty good job of it, and he's finding these really entrenched positions that are hard for Zerg to come in and break open. It's a very narrow corridor to come in here. He needs to rely purely on Dark Swarms and Lurkers to really bust through this, and as long as you target fire those Lurkers before the Dark Swarm comes down, you're going to be feeling pretty good about this as Barracks.
Ooh, this is a pretty big surround here. Wow, not a lot of Marines on the top side. The Lings are getting right on top of these tanks. He's going to be able to clear the whole army. Wow. This is a great cleanup from Saxury. That was such a well-entrenched position out of Barracks, but he needs to actually react to this whole army. This next army making its way over here to the center right. It's going to get into another nice position. He's going to force another difficult clear out of Saxury, and I don't know how many more of these he can actually sustain.
Well, this is good for Barracks in the sense that he can lay siege to this base of Sacsri while also defending his own 4th base in the bottom right. 2 dropships also making their way to the top left for Barracks as well, trying to cycle around to get some more damage done up there. But there's actually no hatcheries taken up there, so Barracks actually kind of doing more than he needs to right now. Would be good if those dropships instead were hitting one of Sacsri's actual online expansions. I don't know, man. I mean, I really do like how Sacsri's been playing this game, but I do feel like Barracks is getting the better end of the stick the longer this game goes on.
Yeah, for sure. If Saxury could have gotten some bases over in top left, if he'd actually kept that alive and survived the drop, maybe things would be a little different. But as it stands, Barracks is doing a great job. He's getting in here and dealing that damage. Lurker's going to run right up on top of this. A lot of these Marines are super low. Oh my goodness. Big cleanup here. Huge finds, actually killing so many tanks. Dude, he just lost like 10 tanks. Crazy damage there.
It's a drop of the natural third as well. One of the dropships got intercepted by those Scourge, so not the worst case scenario. Does lose a few of these drones and maybe the Snyder's Canal too. That could be the kind of play that Barracks needs to stay in the game. Has lost so many tanks, so just when I was like saying, oh, I think this guy's doing okay, he managed to lose so many tanks yet again. This might be the one thing keeping Sulky in this game, that he's resetting the tank count each time. Although it seems like I love Oof level of macro from Barracks just coming out with more stuff over and over again. Another 4 tanks here with some value, and his beautiful plague though on those vessels. He needs to be so careful, does Barracks. Like, I thought he was in a good position, but he's kind of like making himself look a little bit weak at the moment. If he does lose this army yet again, that might be disastrous. I think he's just barely got enough in his macro engine to overcome Saxury and kill this base, but so far Saxury doing a good job of keeping him at bay.
There's a few Marines over here on the right-hand side. They're actually going to get cleaned up now, and Saxury coming forward with a huge army. Does he actually have a Dark Storm for this? The tanks are actually just smashing down a lot of these Marines. Great cleanup here, actually killing every single vessel. There's one vessel left.
There was one Hydra doing all that. This one Hydra target throwing those all down, saying while the Lings were soaking up the damage and clearing up the... This is really good play from Sacsri. It's just I'm also noticing the deficit of supply. Like, he's half the supply of Barracks right now, and he's not able to grow anymore. Whereas Barracks has now been mining off of these 4 bases for a while. He's going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable about this game state. As long as he doesn't lose too many more tanks for free, he should be able to close out this game.
Yeah, he's macroing like a god. Bringing out so many units and then hitting these bases over and over again. Sacsri is down to 31 workers. He just hasn't been able to keep up with all of the task switching of Barracks, hitting all these different locations and pulling them apart slowly but surely. It doesn't matter how these big engagements end up going. If Barracks is just getting little bits of damage here and there over and over again and hitting his macro like an absolute beast, setting up these positions as well, making it hard for Sacsri to clear. Oh my gosh, even more drones end up going down. 28 workers. How are you actually going to create an army here to fight this? Sacsri is running on fumes.
I'm just happy we saw an irradiated egg kill like 8 Marines there that were playing. That was kind of funny. Oh, look, a Razor trick coming in. They need to get into that Nidus canal quick. Oh, those drones are going to die, Saiyan.
So many drones going down here. In fact, only 14 remain. And Sacsri finally going to tap out. GG. Barracks will go forward into the next round. Sacsri going down into the final match.
Yeah, really crazy impressive stuff there from Barracks. I mean, it did look like Sacsri was trading pretty effectively for quite some time, killing that tank count over and over again. The macro is just too good though. Barracks shows you why he's got those super strong mechanics and why you should fear him.
Yeah, he was looking like a SC2 player there, just rallying across the map, these long torrents of Terran. Just a long rally push going over and over and over again to each of these bases and hitting left and right, back and forth, not giving Sacsri any peace. That's it, guys, for the winners match. Now we're going to hop over to the losers match. Let's go watch what Mighty can do versus Ample coming right up. All right, hopping into our losers match. We've got Ample versus Mighty. Ample spawning down here in the bottom right. Mighty in the bottom left. These two losers going to be battling it out, but there's still hope. Could make a comeback here. Either player capable of going through to that final match and making it into the next round. Let's see who is going to be taking on Sacsri in that final match.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. Sacsri is a bit of a beast of a player. Hasn't quite found his footing yet in the StarCraft scene. I think, though, he could definitely take out one of these guys. So maybe Sacsri will be also joining us in the next round. My money would actually probably be on that. I think that Sacsri would have a very good chance at joining Barracks in the next round, despite Barracks dealing with him.
Who do you think Sacsri would prefer to fight here, either Ample or Mighty?
I think just Ample, purely based on he's already got a good read on him. He's already going to be going into that feeling confident with how things went around the first time.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. Recently had a Soup Duel series with JYJ versus Sacsri, and he put out some really good games there. It's maybe his better matchup, I'm not sure. But he tends to play pretty well when under pressure. Let's see if Ample makes it through. Already a bit of pressure coming through on Ample's SCV. Mighty putting some damage on that, forcing 2 SCVs off the line and stealing the gas. It's pretty hard to get a gas steal on this map, but he got pretty lucky here with this first scout.
Yeah, basically pulled the lever off the slot machine, you know, and got all 3 sevens right now. Won the jackpot and not only gas stole the Terran player here, but now putting a lot of pressure onto this SCV. If he gets the kill, it's going to be insane, but just forcing an extra SCV or 2 off the line early to try and deal with that probe is super annoying for Ample. So this is definitely going to be putting Mighty into a very comfortable spot.
Any damage he does here to these initial SCVs is maybe going to be converted into kills as the Zealot comes across the map. That'll have to be taken into account by Ample. Pulling back the damaged SCVs and only using the full HP ones to block would be best for his chances of holding this. He's got a very nice wall here. You can see the Zealots are not going to be able to come along the bottom side of that barracks. It'll have to go around the top, and then the Marine can slip in between that supply depot and barracks. Coming in from an angle now. Zealot was trying to get a little fancy there, but ends up wasting a bit of time kind of wandering around just outside of this natural, allowing Ample to get a fair number of Marines here in order to deal with this. He gets the probe, does lose the SCV though. Now it's going to get a little bit tough here. Uh-oh, Ample walks way too far forward. Hold on. This second Zealot coming in, completely surprising Ample here. He does lose one Zealot, but he's going to catch another Marine. That was a great position being held there by that Zealot. And he's going to force Ample to run around, get onto this ramp. Looks like he gets a full surround, but loses another Marine. How many SCVs can he kill? Great repair there. Oh my goodness. A really clutch repair, but almost saves that in the end. Another SCV goes down.
Yeah, like pretty well done, honestly. I thought like with the Marines getting blocked initially, like he wouldn't actually get down there and stop the bunker from being delayed, and did a pretty good job overall. We did see a fairly fast Nexus on Mighty's side, though. He didn't even, tech up until getting this Nexus online before taking his gas and what have you. So it's going to be pretty optimized, kind of like the Protoss variation of Bunker Expand. Slightly kind of lining up with the curve of Ample's economy nicely here.
That was an interesting move. I'm just thinking about how Mighty did that Zealot attack. Having the first Zealot come in, and kind of like delaying it, just kind of hanging out in the middle of the map for a bit. Yeah. And then coming in with the two kind of staggered closer together. It did throw Ample off a little bit, right? He expected there to be more delay. Yeah. More delay in the second Zealot arriving.
Right, it does give a lot more power spike in the trades, because if it comes in a trickle with like one after the other, it's a bit easier to handle, and you get a lot of damage on the first Zealot before the second one's had a chance to arrive. I do like the staggering of those Zealots really nicely by Mighty to make sure that there's as less interval time as possible between the reinforcements for that extra power spike.
Managed to get some good damage going and denies the scout of Ample into that main base as well. He won't know exactly what's coming. All he's seen is 2 gateway production. Can't see if there's a Citadel or a Robo or what's behind this. He will have to prepare for everything. It's just, in fact, a 2 gateway observatory, though. Mighty probably going to take a really fast third base off of this.
Yeah, this is a pretty tried and true way of playing this matchup. You can go for 3-gate observer. It's just that's the most cookie cutter, safest way of playing. But this 2-gate obs is it's safe enough against most things, and it also allows you to get a slightly earlier third base, like we see Mighty wanting to try and take it as close to a 6-minute Nexus as possible, which this 2-gate Robo allows you to do.
Very quick third there, like you said, 6 minutes. Quite punishable by a strong Terran attack, like a 4 factory or 3 factory even could do a lot to this, but Ample may just want to get into an armory and sit here safely, make sure he's got enough detection and all that in case there was some sort of drop play, some sort of aggression, but it's not going to be that, and it's kind of playing into Mighty's hands.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he did slow down the gas of Ample quite significantly with that gas deal, so we just don't have the same kind of timings to roll out with say like a 3-tank push initially, and then you could also delay that quite some time and then go for like a 7 or 9-tank push with a lot more factories behind that. I don't think Ample's going to be able to do either of those things because of just how delayed his gas is. He kind of has to play a little bit turtle Terran and play a little bit passive here.
Yeah, he's gonna sit back for the time being. Mighty adding on more gateways, and we'll go into a delayed Reaver. Ample should have adequate defenses by the time this comes online. A 5th factory going to be thrown down by him. So maybe he does want to get aggressive here.
I like this.
Only
yeah, this is
2 turrets.
Right. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that this is going to be scouted by Mighty very quickly with this observer flying in. If there's not a proper turret ring set up, you can't really disguise this. So Mighty getting the full scout off with his observer is a little bit problematic right now.
Oh, talking in English a little bit. Mighty says, sorry, yo. Had a little bit of a pause, but we're back. And yeah, this is going to be interesting. The push is going to come out right as the Reaver comes in. It's possible that Mighty could just fly that in and try to defend with Dragoons, and he could get a lot of damage. With only 2 turrets set up and no mines in the base, you know, Ample has been focusing on a really heavy tank style here. There's an opportunity for Mighty to just shut down the economy while defending back at home.
That's possible. He needs to get a lot of gateways online. We've got 7 on the way. He needs maybe just even 1 more than that at the bare minimum to really start to ramp up his own production. Has got a shuttle sharking around. He's trying to see if he can get anything for free here. Maybe, just maybe, there's like some tanks like out of position, but seems like with enough unsieged tanks nearby, he's not going to be able to get anything going. Reaver now just going to be relegated to trying to slow down any move outs, seeing if he can get off a Scarab in time before that tank finishes its C-cycle. Not able to do so, however.
Oh, this is a good move. Dropping.
Yeah.
Even picks up the Zealot after the kill. A little Zealot bomb there. Getting some good work done. Ample's push reduced slightly in its potency because of that initial kill. But it will be coming out here in force very soon. Vultures are trying to cause some distraction. Get Mighty to pull back his units so that Ample can move out a little bit more smoothly. Not a full wall here in the natural to make sure that Vultures can't slide by. And so there is that bit of vulnerability in Mighty's defense. Will Ample be able to exploit that, get some damage going before this attack fully commences? Looks like Ample actually moving over towards this 3rd. He may just take a 5-factory 3rd base. It's not unheard of, but that's a lot of production when your opponent's just going into Reaver and doesn't have all his gateways online just yet.
He probably feels delayed enough that he has to go for something like this. He would also used to play a little bit like this, where you just go a bit more unit heavy just to take your 3rd safely. You want to take it early enough, because if you start having to take your 3rd base around like 13, 14 minutes, you're not feeling good about that as Terran. You want to get this online by about 11, 12 minutes at the latest. So yeah, this makes sense from Ample. Like having enough units to actually successfully and safely take this 3rd base is quite a long way to actually cover all of this territory when you haven't got a large unit count. So I do like the 5-factory to take this. I just still think that Mighty's game state is better and he's still advantaged to win.
We'll see if he can pull the trigger on an attack and actually bust through the defensive setup here of Ample. Gets a shot on that Reaver, even gets a 2nd shot off there, dealing quite a bit of damage to those 2 Reavers. Not exactly what Mighty was looking for, but he's opened up slightly that side, getting rid of one of those supply depots. May want to ram a bunch of Zealots through that position. No, actually going to send 2 shuttles over towards this natural. Maybe wanting to get in there, but if he's going to do stuff like this, I think he actually needs to take a 4th base. Let's see how this goes, though. Diving in, he gets over top of that double armory here in the natural and dives right on into the main base, looking for big SCV connections. Looks like he's not going to get very many. Just a few, as most of the SCVs have been pulled.
He probably wants to start targeting down depots or something. Maybe he can start killing 4 depots. That's gonna be something. Tries to go for the main frontal engagement now. Dive bombing on top of those tanks with a line of Zealots. This is actually a pretty good attack from Mighty, but I think maybe there's enough waiting. And oh, there's not actually. I think he's going to break through. There's not enough tanks in this back line, but there's enough Dragoons here to actually start trading with this army. He's not targeting the tanks though, so Ample's still getting a slightly better trade here because Mighty is macroing at home and not paying full attention to this. So the tanks actually do chew through the majority of these remaining Dragoons. So it's not the worst case scenario for Ample, but this is pretty bad, losing this many tanks. I think he's still going to have enough rallied units to finish him off here.
That was a pretty good move, honestly, by Mighty. Sending the drops in there to the main base to draw all the vultures back in defense, and then just diving through with the massive zealots to break through what's primarily just tanks there in the front line. All tanks popping out from Ample here. He will have a bunch of vultures to come up and possibly shut this down. I really don't see many Dragoons with this, so zealots are going to be the right response. Oh gosh, he's actually targeting on the Archon there, and he's going to lose tanks because of it. Kind of a crazy move by Ample. Really does need just a lot more vultures to pop out here so that he can actually hold onto this position. He's being forced to evacuate his spot. No fourth base for Mighty at all, so he really does need to do a lot of damage here. I think he's done pretty much enough at this point, but can he actually finish the job? Can he actually get the kill now?
He should be able to, honestly. I was favoring his game state quite significantly because he should just be able to straight up kill Ample. There wasn't quite enough vultures to buffer, and there wasn't quite a critical mass of tanks that had been reached yet. We got this powerful 10-gate monster of a macro on 3 bases that was just slamming against the gate. Though somehow Ample has managed to hold the line for the time being. We finally see this 4th base coming out from Mighty, so we see some kind of transitional play, but no 3rd base mining for the time being. Ample's only just now getting those SCVs back over there to start mining yet again. So the curve of the game has been shut down quite a lot. I wonder if Mighty feels like now he has to macro up and not attack too much again. He's going to try and see if he can trade off some of these tanks. He knows the tank count is dangerously low for Ample, but this is still a pretty hard position to attack into unless you're maxed.
Looks like Ample just barely going to stabilize. You're right, it was looking very scary, and it seemed like Mighty was just going to crush him. But he did kind of falter with the Dragoon control there at the end of the fight, not targeting down the tanks and just getting rid of them so that the Dragoons could clear whatever pops out of those factories. So Ample just barely able to hold on with his rallies of vultures, clearing out all the zealots that were rallied forward. Now pushing forward even further. I don't know if this is a good idea. Ample really needs to take his time here. He needs to slow things down to a snail's pace. He's actually going to slip out on the map with some vultures, and this might be the big opportunity for Mighty to just ram it down and clear the entire tank count again.
I think so. It's really risky what Ample was doing right there. Oh, Reaver drop into natural expansion. Shuttle gets taken out right away, though. He's trying to clear out some of these turrets so he can keep harassing Ample later on. He just wants to get rid of this anti-air so they can come in for more and more harassment, pull the army back away from the front, and now can dive bomb into this rally point location again once it's dried up in its defenders. We see the tanks sieging in the backline, but there's no way there's enough tanks now in reserve to deal with this Dragoon force, and he is actually microing these Dragoons more appropriately this time round, making sure those phase disruptors are connecting with the siege tanks.
Nothing over here on the right-hand side, so Mighty's just going to rotate a little bit away from this army. Anything that's brought forward here could just be completely shut down by the next rally of zealots coming across the map. And so moving over here to try and save this base is really scary. Ample going to try to get over here. Great storm there, hitting a lot of these SCVs who are about to repair that tank and try to keep Ample alive. Here comes that rally of zealots on its way. I think it just walked right into a bunch of mines, so it might be softened up a bit, but it still should be enough to break through the final defenses here of Ample. Mighty has that 4th base online. He's getting himself into a 5th base. This is getting harder and harder for the Terran player to cope with. We're down here to just 42 SCVs, and the 74 probes of Mighty are going to be pumping out a massive economy and really getting his gateway count into an insane level. You can see 4 shuttles now. There's almost as many shuttles here as there are tanks, Xun.
Yeah, this is getting crazy. It's like poor man recall levels of shuttles kind of be doing a lot of damage. They're actually going to be trying to get onto the natural expansion, see if they get some storm drops with some more going off into the main base. Has he got more High Templars in there to do some storm drops in the main, or is it just gateway units coming out, pulling the army of Ample back to make sure there's no push timing? Hasn't got any follow-up attack to do at the front this time around. He's actually quite low on supply, is Mighty, trying to keep Ample back in his base by sending in these small pockets of drops in the main base. But I don't know, he needs to be careful. If he bleeds off too much, like, he's not going to have any army supply to hold Ample back. He's got 76 probes, only 140 supply, so like probably not that much more of an army supply than Ample right now.
It would be pretty crazy for Ample to try and push right now, but he needs a Hail Mary, right? He's so far behind. He has to do something crazy in order to make a winning game state in this game. Like, find some victory condition. And I just don't see it right now, but yeah, maybe if Mighty keeps throwing away units, if he keeps walking the mines. Oh gosh! Big mine connection there, getting a lot of kills. And a drop over here. Actually a really good move by Ample. This is going to get completely shut down, but I like the idea.
Yeah, the idea is really nice. I mean, he got really lucky with that mine connecting that High Templars like that. I mean, that's a lot of utility just down the drain for free. You don't want to be dealing with that when you're already kind of up against it as Mighty. Like, he's barely got an army to fight with. He's got like 70 probes and like 70 army. And that's pretty much what Ample's got. He's got like 40 workers and 70 army. So if Mighty makes one misstep, suddenly Ample can just crush him in a heartbeat. So he needs to be really careful and tentative about how he approaches this game. Mighty needs to slow things down himself now and get all of the benefits of getting these additional bases online.
He throws another army away into this, and it doesn't go as planned. Oh, losing both these Templar as well. Really good move there.
Yeah,
getting rid of that shuttle. There we go. Something going right for Ample. And if Mighty, loses a bunch of this army, throwing it into this natural once again, Ample could get a big counterattack going. And Mighty may not be able to hold. He's just kind of tentatively sitting out here in the front. Maybe just backing away and throwing down storms is going to be the play.
Yeah, I mean, he has to just compose himself. He doesn't want to tunnel vision on killing Ample because he's getting frustrated that the game's not over yet. He needs to just, calm himself down and slow down the game a little bit. You can go for like 1 or 2 storm drops. Oh my gosh, that mine connection. Like, everything is aligning for Ample to make a comeback here. He's almost up to 140 supply to 180, so he's still got enough supply to hold on against a full frontal engagement. And it's not going to be that strong of an engagement with how many probes there are. So he hasn't even really got to worry about that right now. Ample might even be able to get out onto the map with some vulture raiding parties and eventually secure a 4th base even.
That's going to be a tough sell, but maybe he can push along the horizontal axis and take 6 o'clock. I'm sure he's going to be harassed to death over at that location, but it's possible he could get that online. With a push coming out, he's forcing a lot of this army up, and so this is a great opportunity here for Ample to actually move forward and start to take a position right around this little doodad here above the 6 o'clock base. Catching some zealots, hitting them with mines. Force Mighty back a little bit. Mighty almost maxing out here, and we're just about at that 150 supply, the bare minimum to fight a Protoss Max army.
Yeah, I mean, for a second there, I was thinking Ample maybe can amount to some kind of comeback, but he's not looking like he's going to be accomplishing that right now, unless somehow Mighty makes a big fumble of the ball. Mighty tries to push in here and this doesn't go so well. Ample has got a reasonable chance of counterattacking and expanding on that 6 o'clock access while attacking horizontally. He's pulling all his army back. It's a very tight choke to attack into for Mighty here. This shouldn't go Mighty's way at all. All it's doing really is buying some time for Ample to gather enough forces to take this 4th base. Mighty might be kind of hanging himself in this game a little bit and giving some breathing room to Ample to secure this 6 o'clock.
Ample moving into position to secure this. He's not quite fully there just yet. Maybe Mighty can dive in right as all these tanks are moving into this. A lot of this changing up a little bit late. being dropped on top of a lot of these vultures. So many of them are going to die here right off the bat. Great storms on the right-hand side, absolutely ruining this army that was coming forward from the natural. So much of Ample's army just disappeared, but he seems to be able to hold this 6 o'clock. Let's see the follow-up from Mighty, though.
It's because of how low the SCV count has been. It's been on like 45 for such a long time that even though his army supply looks pretty low, he's still got a relatively large army size to fight with. In a lot of respects, actually larger than Mighty's. Like right now, it's like, you know, 90 army supply for Ample versus the 70, 80 of Mighty. So even though the worker counts are really low and it looks like, oh, Mighty's like really far ahead right now. Well, actually, no, he's got 30 more workers, which means the supplies are actually pretty even in terms of army strength.
Ample really needs to spread out his tanks, man. I'm looking at this tank force and just wondering when a storm's gonna land on all of those to just take them out. Ample is, yeah, so low on army supply. He can't afford to be hitting or getting hit by a storm with 3 or 4 tanks underneath. He's just gonna lose. Look at those 4 tanks on the side. Those 4 tanks have already been damaged by some earlier attacks, and so Ample really needs to start spreading things out, like here on the left-hand side, so that he can actually take those good fights. Mighty is still powerful. He's taking a lot of bases. He's getting powered up, but he doesn't have gateways in the top left. If he gets completely shut down in this natural and isn't able to get out, Ample can send like 2-3 tanks to each of these locations and just start killing nexuses, and there's not much that Mighty can actually do about it.
And that's exactly Ample's win condition with how he's taken this 6 o'clock base. He can attack across the map and try and like take the center of the board a little bit to open himself up to expand vertically. That is another option to split the map in half. But one win condition is just attacking horizontally and trying to get up his rally point. Look at Mighty though, just diving on top of Ample right now. There is a D-Matrix on the periphery to try and buy some time. Not going to be doing so. Look at those beautiful Sonic Storms as well, ripping through that Terran Metal. There's enough Dragoons here to make this work, but all those tanks in the back line should be able to hold the line. Ample won't be able to hold on to his 6 o'clock for much longer though if he doesn't keep shuffling over his army. Mighty's going to be sharking around for more efforts. He needs to get these tanks a little bit closer to this 6 o'clock.
Shuffling forward again, but doesn't have a lot of fodder for these tanks. The Zealots could move forward and try to get on top of these. Looks like Mighty will back off for the time being, and taking more bases. In fact, sending a probe over to top right as well. Looks like Mighty gonna try to lock down the 3rd quadrant of this map. And if he's able to do that, Ample's time in this game is limited. Definitely don't want to allow that to happen. Ample starting to move towards the middle. Is it time to contain this natural, though? I think that's probably going to be his win condition. He's,
yeah,
I think, mined out in the main, actually sitting here on 2 bases left of mining and stretching himself over towards top right. It doesn't seem feasible.
No, taking top right now is just too much too soon. He could eventually do that once he's closer to maxed out at like 160, 180 supply. Right now, he needs to be thinking about surviving and attacking on this horizontal axis and getting on top of this rally point. Mighty's trying to take the fight to him, though. He's doing a frontal engage, which is not usually advisable for Preuss to go for these fights unless you have a critical mass that's been achieved. So far, pretty good target firing from Ample as well, getting most of the tech units out of the equation before they can even get their storms off, and there's enough cleanup force to deal with all those zealots, so it looks like Ample's getting the better end of the stick with these trades.
Oh yeah, Ample has so many tanks left over. If he unsieges everything and just goes towards this natural now, I think Mighty might kind of fall apart here. Again, everything coming from this bottom left corner. Ample not making that decision, though. He's going to spread all the way up here towards the top center. Dude, this is making his job a lot harder in this game, but maybe he can still make it work.
Yeah, I mean, it does force a reaction out of Mighty at least, so he is going to be forcing more trades out of the Protoss player here. So that's something that could be said about this maneuver. Would have been a more solid win condition to go for the rally point. I guess he just didn't feel like it would have been a more tenable position to hold on to. Maybe he was a little bit worried about that. I'm not sure this is the good idea from Ample, though, because now he's spread himself quite thin. Mighty can still come out onto the map easily, and now he's going to get his 6 o'clock just potentially bowled over by a streamline of Zealots that are coming from a nearby rally point.
Yeah, this is what I was worried about, guys. Ample, he's got so many forces over there at the 12 o'clock. He's going to end up losing this position here at the 6. He didn't need to do this. He could have just pushed over towards that natural and contain the rally point. That would prevent any of these counters from coming in. But it seems like he's actually going to lose the majority of his SCVs. He's at 42 right now. He's just mined out on his 3rd base. He is going to take a base over in that top right, and I don't think Mighty's aware of it. So as long as that base isn't scouted, maybe there's still hope here for Ample, but he can't afford to spread his army any thinner. He can't afford to defend this base down here at the bottom center and that base in top right. There's just no way without, if Mighty actually notices that.
Right, and he's already taken a significant hit to his SCV train. I mean, even with this 4th base, this additional base going up in the top right, it's not really enough. He's now got 5 bases, but he's not really mining on 2 properly even anymore. Has to keep remaking these SCVs, and he's struggling to keep up with the supply curve of the game. Mighty will be able to outproduce him. He did take out that base at 12 o'clock, but I think just barely Mighty will still be able to outscale him here. I think Ample realizes that he's going to have to go the distance and forget about attacking and instead just try and split the map and, you know, eventually outscale Mighty. But it's going to be in a long time coming to actually win this game for Mighty, for Ample, sorry.
Their attack coming in here. 2 shuttles full of Zealots and Templar are going to be dropped on top of this. No fodder in the army. No vultures here, so Zealots are just going to take over this position. Ample is being pushed all the way back, and he's losing control over that 6 o'clock again. Looks like even more SCVs are going to go down in that position here, Xun. Ample losing one of his last bases left of mining, and he's lost his chances in this game. I think we're going to see a quick cap out. There it is. Ample, GG's, and Mighty takes this victory.
I mean, I really did feel like it was going to go this way. After everything that settled in the early game, it was actually kind of surprising that Mighty didn't win this game a lot sooner. It was a pretty valiant effort from Ample to hold on the way he did. We're going to be going into game number 2 here in just a few moments. I believe that's going to be on Dominator. I don't know. I mean, Ample's a really capable player, but he's not really impressing me so far. I do feel like Mighty should be able to take this series.
Be suffering a bit there with the decision making. I think it was a reasonable expectation that Mighty would have put a bunch of gateways over there in the top left. I'm surprised that he didn't do that with how many probes he had. So maybe some difficulties on the side of Mighty as well. We're getting into this one, guys. Game number 2. Mighty down here in the bottom left. Ample in the center right. Dominator, our map. I think this is going to be the new version of Dominator, or maybe it's the old one, actually. We'll have to get a shot of the wall over the main base before we can check that out.
Yeah, it'd be pretty obvious if there's a high ground that's blocking tanks from just seeing into your main base or not.
Yeah, that's one of the main changes, but less visual is the change to where you can build out on these pizza slices.
Right.
And that really does affect Terran in this matchup quite a bit.
Yeah, you can basically get your mineral only for free now with the ability to kind of push out with your turrets on that first initial pizza slice. It does make it a little bit crisper for Terran to get something going. Obviously, they'd much rather that third gas, though, if they can. It's just not always easy to take that in this matchup.
Yeah, it's a bit tough to take, and even the mineral only can be tough to defend. You can land stuff up on that high ground and hit the mineral patches. Can be hard to keep your SCVs alive in that sort of situation. But Ample here, it looks like he's going to possibly open gasless. It's kind of popular on this map.
Yeah. I think mainly you also want to have some investment in securing this high ground. Like, you don't want to allow the Protoss to do some early game shenanigans where they get some Dragoons on the high ground and keep you contained in your base. Being on the low ground in your main base doesn't feel good as Terran in this matchup. So I think you are kind of incentivized, if you can, to kind of wall in as early as possible and be secure in your natural, just to make sure there's no way the Protoss can abuse you.
Makes sense. We are going to have that gasless fast expand. CC starts before the Marine begins, and on Mighty's side of things, a Nexus first. He's going to try and get a bit of a macro edge, but I think with both these builds, where they're lining up, pretty darn even in this match.
Yeah. I think we saw Flash play a little bit like this quite a lot back in the day against Protoss players. He went through a phase where he was like either always CC first, and then he went into like always a bunker expanding. I think he really sees value in walling off this natural and securing this this area as much as possible. It does make your job as Terran navigating that early to mid game phase a little bit more palatable.
It is pretty good against the Nexus first as well. It's not going to give you many opportunities to actually shut down that Nexus, but gives you a reasonable economic position to try and fight it in the mid game. You're going to get in here with this SCV now, checking out all of the timings, and we'll see at the cybernetic score. Want to probably get back in there, see if there's going to be a robotics started, or will the upgrade start to spin there in the cybernetics core? Very important information like that. Kind of invaluable in this matchup. And there it is, robotics on the way. Now he knows kind of when he needs the turrets and the range of play that's possible here for Mighty.
Yeah, Mighty knows that he can get away with skipping range. I mean, he's not even got the factories finished up yet. He knows he doesn't need to defend against any push. It would be possible that Ample could be going for some crazy bio play with Proxy Barracks out on the map, but he knows after seeing those two factories start, there's no hope of him having enough money to do something like that. So he can pretty much guarantee being safe and getting this fast robo up.
That would be a pretty wild play, and it's not going to be the case in this game. Ample, about as standard gets for the follow-up double factory, and they'll be getting an eBay online in time for this first shuttle coming out. The first Reaver going to be heading on its way over. There may not even be a Reaver, though, as Mighty could go into just triple gateway or double gateway into a very fast expansion build. Get some observers out here, try to figure out what Ample's up to, and try to double down on the economic greed that he's already started here at the beginning of this game. Yeah, triple gateway. We are going to have observer. So what is this, 5-minute 30 Nexus? Very quick Nexus going to be coming down from Mighty.
It might be closer to 6 minutes. It's going to be some time until he actually gets the minerals ticked up for that, unless he skips pro production. He could skip pro production right now, but I don't think he will. He's going to eventually get that. Oh, about 5:30. Oh, no, he's not. Okay, look, he's just got the probe chilling here. He's still not going to place that down. Yeah, so it's going to be closer to a 6 minutes still.
Yeah, I think if he, depending on what he saw there, he might be planning to throw that down, but the Vulture slips out on the map. He starts some more Dragoons here. I'm going to start at right about the 6-minute mark.
I mean,
he got away with it last game.
This only makes sense to me if he wants to be aggressive and try and put some pressure onto Ample right now. I don't understand why he's playing this safe when he knows that there's only going to be a few speed Vultures to worry about. Oh, actually might maybe at least still be able to get in there. Oh, he does manage to get one at least into the main base now. Tries to lay down some mines in his wake and see if he can get behind and kill some probes. I don't think you're getting it too much here, but it's still a pretty good play from Ample to get this going.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job. I think that will go down. Only gets one probe. Great block though by Mighty, honestly, with that one probe coming up into that wall. with the single Dragoon.
This
Now
is what
going to
I
start
wanted
to
to
hit
see.
this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, a lot
we
of damage going down here.
This is the only thing that makes sense if he wants to get aggressive with the Dragoons early game. He's preparing that bunker with so many SCVs. He now can target down the SCVs and use that as a way of getting some economic damage here pretty directly to Ample. He's not got any tanks. Like, the fact that he invested so much into those vultures, now he's feeling the burn. He's got 2 tanks that are oh no, he's glitching them out a little bit. He needs to be careful. Harry Micro says that bunker is going to go down in just a few moments if he doesn't dive onto these tanks. So now he's going to be taking out at least one of those tanks and getting out of the exit vector without losing too many of these Dragoons. Pretty well done from Mighty. Ample, though, still feeling probably okay about this. He's got a decent amount of SCVs. He's not actually dead. He's delaying the probe transfer to the 3rd base, so it's something.
Interesting moves here by Mighty. I guess, you know, he was ready to throw down that Nexus, but when he saw just vultures popping out, he decided to make another round of Dragoons and try to pressure. It ends up working out pretty well for him. One Wraith flying through. That's going to get a lot of scouting information, and Mighty will clear up these mines and vultures on his side of the map, get into his mining. Already here on 51 probes, but Ample's been able to maintain a pretty steady flow of SCVs coming, and is kind of matching that right now, even though he lost a few workers there at the bunker.
Yeah, very even worker counts for both players here, so that's definitely Ample favored. If he can somehow just keep chugging along without taking any more damage against this initial pressure of Mighty, that'd be great. But I have a feeling this mineral only will have a hard time being unchallenged. There is a dropship, though, going into the main base, so there's only like 1 or 2 Dragoons to deal with that. Maybe he can still get something done. You need like 3 Dragoons to really shut this down. With just 2, you're going to probably lose the dropship like that, but at least the vultures are still going to get in and do some economic damage here, which is exactly what Ample wants.
Gonna kill off quite a few probes at the same time. An attack is coming into his natural, diving on top of the tanks here. Has that one shuttle. Needs to actually pull forward and start to kill more of these tanks. One has gone down. Second one's gonna fall for sure, and I think he gets the 3rd as well. Kind of a ballsy maneuver by Ample to come out here and start building bunkers in the front and pushing out this far with the tanks while going for the drop. That didn't work out too well for him, and then yes, it is indeed that new version of this map, because we can see now building way out onto this feet to slice is Ample.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he was trying to take that mineral only the way he was. He should be doing this where he's building the command center closer to his main base so that he can actually float it over later in a more safer fashion. This makes way more sense. It's like Mighty getting a better end of the stick with these early game decision-making trees. It seemed like Ample had a slightly better grasp on the mid-game than Mighty did, but I don't know if that's going to matter this game. Like, Ample seems very determined in trying to take this mineral only very, very prematurely, and I think he's going to keep getting punished by Mighty if he keeps this up.
Mighty just needs to make a couple more shuttles, another round of Zealots and Dragoons, and he can come over here and try to force the cancel on this again, or at least try to stop it from landing. We got a science facility on the way. He's gearing up to start +2. So Ample wants to invest in these later upgrades. Not sure exactly what his factory count is like right now, but here comes that shuttle I was talking about. Some Zealots, maybe even a Reaver at this point could be out. And Mighty maybe looking to try and break this. Not a huge amount of tanks here, and again, not as much fodder as you would like. The vultures slipping out on the map.
Yeah, he's also taking the mineral only behind this, so he's even powering up while also still ready to apply more pressure. Some speed vultures trying to see if they can poke in. Oh, they are going to barely squeeze by, but with the cannon in the natural, not going to be able to actually get into the main base yet again. Worker count's not really that ahead for Mighty. That does mean that their relative army scales are still pretty even as well with the supply counts. Mighty probably wants to come in and bust this in the next minute or two. That's why we see so many supply depots being made in the front by Ample. He knows he needs a little bit of extra to just make sure he can hold the line against Mighty, who's going to be looking to bowl him over soon. Has got these 2 Reavers to be a little bit tactical as well on the periphery, trying to snipe off turrets and maybe get on top of this mineral line if he's not careful.
Tank drop into the main. 1 tank, 2 vultures. Gonna catch the Templar actually coming out. could actually get quite a few Templar kills. One goes down, a second one may end up getting targeted as well. There's another and another. No, that gets picked up into the shuttle. So avoids losing all of his spellcasters here. It's like Ample maybe just picking up his tank and getting out now. Pretty reasonable a drop here by Ample, just getting some damage and not losing anything.
That was more than reasonable. That was ample damage, pun intended, saying. That was plenty. And he got out with the Vulture and tank. Is kind of insane. He denied mining for so long with that tank, even though he didn't kill too many probes. Really well done from him, and he still has that active threat. That's why we see some Dragoons making their way to the 6 o'clock position, trying to see if they can clean up that dropship play. So not have to worry about that.
Looks like he might just barely find one hex of... Okay, no, you're just going to lose that drop. Weren't getting it on screen there, but there it is. It does go down. Drop's been dealt with, and Mighty can rest easy knowing that that's been removed. However, Ample is still powering, and his army supply is getting higher. He's got +2 on the way, and he's going to be taking the 4th base down in bottom right here pretty soon. He's already started to build turrets there. He's getting a couple of supply depots up there on the high ground, so all that's necessary is to float another CC over, bring some tanks to that high ground, start to set up mines, and a few more turrets. He should be ready to get here onto 4 bases. 4 base economy for Terran can last for a very long time, especially when it's such a tight 4 bases like this. You can defend it with fairly few troops. Nice run by here into this 4th base, getting a few probes.
He kind of has to get a lot done with Vultures when you go for this mineral only, because he just doesn't have the gas. So the extra minerals is nice, but really it's just Vultures. Oh, look at Mighty though. He just wants to pull the trigger on that attack, gets on top of this pizza slice. There's quite a lot of forces here, but I think there's enough tanks in reserve to stop this force in its tracks. But if some storms come on this mineral line, that will be really devastating. Not able to actually find the connection on there. Just one good storm on that mineral line would have been huge, but wasn't able to find this. Ample does hold the line pretty impressively here, and the supplies are dangerously even as well for Mighty. So maybe Ample's going to start coming back in this game. We have another Vulture counterattack here as well at the mineral only. There's just Vultures here, so these Vultures can bully those a little bit.
Into the storms there from Mighty. He just didn't cast them.
Yeah.
He could have gotten like 20 kills pretty quickly. Just a couple of good storms. If Ample doesn't pull it instantly, you're going to end up losing a lot of that. And so missing out on an opportunity. Maybe there wasn't enough energy on those Templar. Maybe he doesn't have Storm. I think he has Storm, right? We saw it before? Or...
Yeah, definitely. He definitely has Storm. I think he definitely has Storm. I don't know if that was just like a misclick or I don't even know what happened. I didn't even see like the Templar like turn to Storm or anything before he died, so he definitely didn't even try and tell him to Storm or something. I don't even know what happened there. But this is really annoying. They're getting this HP shaved down so much. I mean, with +2 attack upgrades, you can actually start to kill buildings with Vultures. They're really weak at killing buildings initially, but once you get a few attack upgrades on them, they can actually start to target things down. That Nexus is dangerously low. I don't think he's going to get it now, but he's going to come in for round 2 soon and potentially try and get a snipe on that.
Getting very low now. Got Nexus. Needs to be defended properly with some cannons, but the probe will be denied. More Vultures getting over here on top of some of these tanks, really starting to clear out a few of these Dragoons. Almost gets a connection on big pack of Dragoons with some mines. Oh, he does actually get some mine connections there, killing off a couple of Dragoons. Pretty reasonable usage of these Vultures. Like you said, mineral only, you're going to have a lot of these to play with, and Ample's doing a good job of getting some value out of them while he can.
Yeah, and that's given him the breathing room to set up this other gas expansion. So now things are a little bit more even out. And look at this final attempt from Ample, setting up another force of Vultures to kill the 12 o'clock while distracting on this bottom lane as well. That Nexus will go down in the 12 o'clock pocket. He will send up some units to deal with that. Looks like Ample is going to be on top of everything. They're trying to intercept the Dragoons that are sent up here to clear this out as well. Maybe even to intercept some of these probes going around the map. So really well utilizing of his Vultures here. But another attack from Mighty onto this gas expansion he's just managed to seize. He's denying a lot of gas mining time from Ample, but I do feel like Ample is doing a pretty good job despite that.
Ample is holding. He's still managed to maintain 60 SCVs. Certainly enough to mine here in this 4-base economy. Oh my god, the probes getting caught over here on the center left. Those were being transferred, and they were completely forgotten about by Mighty. Mighty doing something else on the map, but he's losing a huge number of probes. He's actually gearing up for maybe another attack down towards that bottom right. Can he actually break this with poor man's recall? Let's see if he can get in here. He's done some damage already. He's softened up the position, but there's still quite a few Goliaths in this forest. There comes a storm, all Zealots and a couple of Templars. So Vultures will be the prime unit for taking out all of these forces. Can he get one more good storm on this whole train? One big storm here would be absolutely insane. Look at how many SCVs there are, but he doesn't have it.
He just doesn't have Storm when he needs it most. He missed the opportunity to storm that mineral-only line, and now he's missing the opportunity to storm this train as well. Nothing is going right for Mighty in this series, and it does seem like Ample might actually be able to tie things up, and we'll go the distance in this best of 3, at least with how things are looking right now. He's got this 4th base under control. He's got even worker supply. He's got more than enough supply to deal with a maxed army attack from Mighty. Now he's pushing up to 180, so we can even start to think about counterattacks and full-on engagements. So yeah, things are looking good for Ample.
The most important thing right now is that Ample's prevented Mighty from taking that top left corner base. He's just slowing down his growth, stopping him from really taking over too many quadrants, too many areas on the map. Now Ample pushing towards the middle a little bit while sending Vultures out on the map to just shut this down again. I don't think that this is going to be able to hold. Mighty getting a little bit desperate here, just throwing stuff in. All right, that storm pretty darn good. Not a great spread on all these tanks from Ample, but as things siege up now, Mighty will have to back away, and he's probably going to lose this Nexus again, Xun. The upgrades are getting very good on these Vultures.
I don't like the army composition of Mighty. Like, he's making way too many Dragoons because of these Vulture raiding parties out on the map. Like, because he's so worried about these Vultures, he's making almost hardly any Zealots, which means there's no way he's going to be able to actually break through these armies of Ample the way they're entrenched. Like, it's just not going to work. Even though there was no Vultures back at home to clean up any Zealots, there was no Zealots to actually cause a threat. So now Ample's going to hold on with just a bare minimal of tanks. Supplies are pretty dangerous for Ample, though. If he doesn't get another base online soon, Mighty might be able to overrun him still. This is a much better attack vector for Mighty to abuse. Tanks shuffling up to reinforce, though. I think there's enough to hold the line. He just needs one good storm on this mineral line to really put the damage on if he can. His T-Matrix on the front line tanks to buffer this. He will be clearing out this army with his +3 weapons upgrade, but no storm went down on that mineral line yet again, so there's no compensation. Now Ample can start to think about counterattacks, or at least taking another base at this 6 o'clock maybe.
Ooh, Mighty throws away so much in that attack. He tried to go for storms on the tanks rather than the mineral line, and therefore Ample, he holds on and keeps his economy fully alive and operational. You can see that he is still at around that 150 supply mark and growing. Mighty is going to get closer to max now, but again, another trade going Ample's way. These tanks are super stacked and should be a great target for a couple of storms, but Mighty wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready to jump on that group of tanks, and so he hasn't been able to break that position just yet. Ample has not made a move to grab another base, but he's still continuing to slow down further locations. Oh, another drop over here. Big storms this time on a lot of these SCVs. Oh gosh, this could be big damage.
Yeah, he's taking him down to only 40 SCVs. Right now, though, they're even on mining bases. Mighty's only mining on one base and a mineral only as well. So any damage here is pretty great for Mighty. He doesn't want to just stay on the current same economic curve, because that was actually favoring Ample just a little bit. Now going to be re-seizing control of this, but did take quite some losses, did Ample, so maybe not feeling super confident about coming out onto the map. There's some 2 random straight tanks here, which is actually a mistake that came out from this defensive line. We'll be able to get one of them back to safety. Mighty needs any mistake from Ample to finally capitalize on and clear up some of these tank counts. Then he can actually close out the game. For the time being, though, needs to establish these 2 bases in the top left quadrant of the map and just try and keep Ample contained on this amount of economy. He doesn't take 6 o'clock, for example. Like, eventually Ample's going to run dry here.
Yeah, he's getting very close to running dry, and Ample really needs to rethink that siege position on his high ground, that pizza slice above the mineral only. All those tanks are so stacked. It's like 4 tanks sitting right on top of each other. Looks like he will unsiege a lot of that. I think it's still up there. No. It has been pulled back. So Ample has pulled his army. I hope he's going to be able to spread a little bit better than we've seen so far against Mighty's upcoming attack. He's actually moving over towards taking the top right. This is going to be spreading Ample quite thin, but he can manage it on 160 supply. It just depends on how well he is at, or how good he is at reacting to the moves of Mighty coming up.
Yeah, this is only with 45 workers as well, guys. So it's almost like 120 army supply here for Ample, which is almost like when you're playing a normal game and you're at like 180. So it's actually a lot better off than he looks in terms of the army scaling, but still needs to be so careful. I like this idea of pushing out into this. Oh, nice EMP on those Tide Templars as well. Shutting down any utility and splash damage is going to be key. Looks like Mighty yet again wants to try. Oh, no, he's turning around. He's going to try and get on top of these tanks. I actually like the decision a lot better from Mighty. This is what he needs to do. Try and clear out some of these tanks with as best specification as possible, but don't go too far to the right. Just stay on the left and clear up these tanks and avoid the main siege line in the back and just turn tail and run after clearing out some of the tanks. I like this play from Mighty a lot more. It's not the best execution, but the right idea.
Hit and run tactics here from Mighty. He has that top left third of the map. I almost said quadrant. He has that top left, so he has a bit of a future here now. Those bases are not going to mine out anytime soon, whereas Ample is running low on resources. His mineral only, that bottom right-hand corner base, are not going to last much longer, so he needs to start making moves here and making them quickly. Oh, DT over in this top right, actually slowing things down by quite a bit. Comes an attack from Mighty, going to get up on top of this high ground, try to attack down the ramp. Where are all the zealots, Xun? There's not much fodder here for the forces.
There's not even any vultures, so if there were zealots here, they'd be having an absolute field day. Say they'd beat every unit on the ground except Ultralisks in a 1v1 if there's no micro. So I don't know why he's not making those units, which are so valuable to him. He hasn't even got the minerals to do so anymore. He's traded so ineffectively that now Ample is putting the pressure on and has made his way all the way up into this top left corner of the map. It's not looking ideal for Mighty. He's going to be feeling pressured to engage this head-on very soon just to stop more economic damage from occurring.
Yeah, here he comes. He's going to dive right on top of this. There's a shuttle going to drop some Templar out, but actually gunning that down very quickly. These Goliaths, only 2 of them in the back line, doing a lot of work. Getting on top of the high ground now. Mighty delving down into this low ground canyon and smashing through a lot of the forces here of Ample. Only 1 tank remains. He actually sends a Dragoon forward, expecting a mine drag to actually deal some damage, but there's no mines underneath these. However, Ample will lose that army regardless. He's even going to get up here into the top right. I think he's just about done it here. Ample is going to be tapping out if he just can't hold this base in top right.
That was a beautiful sally out from Mighty to meet the siege head on like that. Now he's also shutting down this base from coming online just by existing up here, at least slowing it down for the time being. This is really annoying for Ample. He's spread too thin, 90 supply, 42 workers, and he's desperate to get this mining base online. The mineral only's mined out. The other gas expansion at his fourth is almost mined out too. He needs this to stay in this game, and it's going to be sniped by these Dragoons potentially. D-Matrixes do try and buy a little bit of precious seconds here, but it's not going to be enough. Mighty is going to be winning this game, unfortunately. This is a really brutal example from Ample. He came so close and got so far, but in the end saying it's not even going to matter.
Yeah, Ample just kind of accepting his defeat now with 9 workers left and only 1 base to mine from. There really isn't much he can do any longer. 69 supply is all he can scrape together, and Ample He's going to make one more attempt to take this top right base, it seems like. But once he sees the next army that comes out of Mighty, I think he'll have to leave this game. He is spreading out these tanks as far as possible. However, a storm will hit these 3 in the back line. Those 4 on top of the pizza slice are going to get surrounded and killed as well. Dragoon overwhelming the position. Mighty has done it. GG, he will go to the final match.
That's a well-deserved victory for Mighty. That he played a pretty textbook Protoss versus Terran style hit and run, just keeping the tank count manageable most of the game and kind of starving out his Terran opponent. Would have liked to see him expand a little bit more aggressively, but it doesn't matter. It's still a pretty clean game when all said and done. We're going to be going in now into our final match, guys. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be Mighty and Sacsri duking it out, and the first map's going to be Radiant.
I think there's a pretty good chance that we could have a Saxury victory here. Mighty showing a pretty strong game, but there were definitely holes in his play, holes that could be exploited by a greater force in Brood War. We'll see if Saxury is able to get that done. Jumping into our next game now. Let's get it started. Okay, our final match of the night, Saxury versus Mighty. We've had all the different matchups, non-mirror matchups tonight. Nice little sample of everything that Brood War has to offer, or nearly everything Brood War has to offer. TVZ, TVP, and yeah, we're gonna end out the night with a ZVP. So this has been fun. Pretty good matchups so far. Yeah. Let's see how Saxury versus Mighty ends up panning.
Variety is definitely the spice of life, Saiyan, so I'm happy with this. A little bit of everything, you know.
Yeah, all these non-mirrors anyway. Giving us a good look at what's on offer here at the SCSL. Guys, if you've been enjoying the cast so far and you're a big fan of this tournament, make sure to support it. You can find the links for the Patreon down in the description. And come support all the things that we do.
Yeah.
And you know, the ASL live casts, the Super Duel series, the KCM. There's so much good content out there right now. We're just really happy to be bringing it all to you guys, and it looks like we're gonna have some early Zealot pressure here for Mighty. He wants to get in here and do a little damage.
And the Overlord just barely doesn't see this, so he's still going to try and expand. Can he actually build the hatchery for the probe can block? Oh, it's so close, just barely. Ooh. If the probe gets there just a teeny tiny bit closer, it's so annoying, because then you've got a probe block to worry about. If the Overlord sees the probe come in earlier than usual, you can just throw down a pull instead of trying to expand in the first place.
Yeah, you could also alternatively send the drone over to the third and expand, but it can get a little bit hairy with the Zealot coming in. Things get a little bit out of control, so it's nice. Lucky that Saxury was able to get that hatchery down. He is still going to have to hold this Zealot, though, however.
Yeah.
With the probe in here putting a little damage down, it might be able to two-shot some of these drones.
Yeah, with this gateway opening from Mighty, if you lose a single drone for Saxury after going for this 11 hatch, you would have been way better off getting this overpull opening. So he needs to make sure he doesn't take any damage this initial Zealot.
With the probe getting some harassment going there, chances are he might be able to get something done. It's coming in now, looking for that kill. He's blocking over at this hatchery, not going to fully commit to that by building a pylon, but he is going to possibly send the Zealot over there. No, he's sending the Zealot into the main now, actually. He kind of went back and forth on that. A little bit of indecision there by Mighty, and he's, oh my gosh, straight drone control by Saxury. We just caught the tail end of that, but really, I don't think that Zealot got even a single punch off. You just got completely outplayed with those drones, and now not going to get any damage at all, I imagine. Okay, going after this one drone. Maybe he gets into the drone line. Can he actually get something? Oh, another great pull there. Excellently done by Saxury.
Really well done by Saxury, yeah. And Mighty was really trying to commit to that and find at least one drone worth of damage to start to get a tiny little minuscule lead in this game. Not able to do so, though. Saxury showing his caliber in this matchup, that he's not as much of a slouch in these early game defenses as maybe he once was. Doing a pretty sizable Zergling reaction as well. Wants to maybe think about going on the counter offensive and seeing if he can break down this wall. Mighty will feel pretty safe with these 4 lings, checking this Zealot on the right. He won't be expecting a bunch of Zerglings to show up at his door this early. It's a lot more than usual.
Able to clear that with just 4 lings, and now this big group making its way forward. There are 3 Zealots here, though, with the cannon started up behind. We're going to see a ling speed finish up. That's kind of a poor engagement there from Saxury. I get the idea he wanted to try and maybe slip something past, but Mighty just fighting with the Zealots there is going to favor him a bit, and even bringing a probe up as well to make sure that nothing can run by. Really good hold there by Mighty. Follow-up going to be a Hydralisk Saxury, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he probably feels like he has to do something. Like, he's invested in quite a few additional Zerglings than usual, and now maybe by keeping the Zealots on the enemy side of the map, maybe this is just the right time to go for it. You don't usually go for a 9-7-3 against Gateway first, though, because of how many Zealots they can just throw at you. And now he's made the mistake of allowing the Zealots behind him. He wants to slow these down as long as possible. If Mighty does commit with these Zealots, he'd actually be favoring Mighty, but Mighty doesn't know that there's a Hydralisk being made behind this. He did actually force out a couple of Zerglings, I think. So this does slow down the Hydra production a little bit. He made some Zerglings. He made 2 extra pairs of Zerglings, which is really bad for Saxury. He hasn't got that many drones already, and he's already committing more into Zerglings before getting this 9-7-3 under the way, which is suboptimal to say the least.
He went for ling speed. I thought that was going to kick in a little sooner, and we were going to be able to see Saxury, after the Zealots came out, just keep building lings and go for a counterattack. You know, have the lings coming out in the reinforcement line, clear up the Zealots, and then get past and maybe try to kill the cannon, maybe run up into the main base, something like that, cause some chaos. so that he can really deal some damage with this Hydra play, but he just slowed down. He really hasn't accomplished anything, and he slowed down his Hydra's timing. This Corsair is going to come out in the path that the Hydras would take. He sees nothing out here, and it seems like Saxury just needs to macro out of this. I don't think he's really going to get any damage or have a chance of killing.
Right. I think he will. I think he'll transition. He might like make, you know, 8 to 10 Hydras and put the pressure on the wall. I just don't think he's going to be successful in busting. I'd be seriously surprised if he keeps making Hydras and tries to make this work. So far, he has done that. Maybe he feels like there's not enough defenses, and maybe he can break through. But I don't know, man. It's going to be kind of close. There is a lot of cannons that aren't finished yet. So there's a tiny window where maybe the Zerglings can buffer against these Zealots, and the Hydras can target down the front 2 cannons. It doesn't look like it's quite good enough. He will have to instead relegate himself to sniping off this forge. He's hoping that he did enough damage to these Zealots that he can target down this forge in a few moments here.
It's a little bit tough to get Ling speed and Hydra speed and Hydra range, but he has managed to kill enough of the cannons that he can maybe just kill the forge without that upgrade. He might have it on the way now, but yeah, it seems like I can't fully tell if he's actually hitting that with Hydraless range or not. He should easily be able to hit this without getting hit by the cannon. Okay, he's got it down now.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
This is okay for Saxury, but it's like, you know, not the first choice of order of business. This does make the game a lot more playable now. Sniping that forge and gateway is some compensation. But honestly, I still like Mighty's game state a lot more than Saxury's. I don't know how good Saxury's transition is going to be. He did force, quite a lot of cannons. Let's say 9 in total. I think maybe there's just barely enough slowdown that Saxury can make a strong game out of this. I don't know if he's got the drone count to really go crazy with his production later on. I think he's just barely scraping by with some good multitasking, making sure all these drones are mining as optimally as possible along the way, that he actually might be in a pretty okay game state going forward.
I don't know, these hatcheries are super late, Xun. They've really been added on at kind of a 11th hour. I'm not sure if he's going to have the production actually deal with all of the Zealots that are about to pop out from Mighty. He hasn't lost any Overlords. He's done a good job of protecting those, of course. Finally, some of these hatcheries are finishing up. He's only on 5 hatch, though. And he's now getting the layer online. Is there a possibility where he just makes lurkers immediately, though, and tries to hold that way? Because he needs something. He needs something here, like some sort of extra oomph for this army.
He's taking a third guess, so he's either thinking about fast lurkers or maybe a muta switch is also possible. He could just suddenly make 10 mutalisks to start sniping these High Templars in the next minute or so. That is another very viable way of playing. It's going to be some time before the Zealot Templar threat actually is at his doors, so there might be a tiny window where he can, get some mutalisks out and snipe those High Templars and make his Hydras trade a lot more effectively. He's got this Spire finishing in just a few ticks.
Yeah, that is finishing up. It's a nice way to play. Just pump out some mutas. It can bring you back in a game where you basically lost. You can find a way back into the game by just sniping out, getting rid of those storms, those spells. The lurker play, I was more thinking that Saxury would just build lurkers so that he doesn't die here, and then he can go into a longer macro game where he's actually a little bit more powerful, right? If he gets into hive play with masses of lings running around the map, and he starts to take another quadrant up there in the top right, I give him a lot better chance, a lot better shot than if Mighty just comes across this map and Saxury has to out micro him with a bunch of mutas and hydras and whatever he can make on 5 hatchery.
I think it is going to be those mutalisks. Yeah, there's the first one. I imagine it's going to be a total of 10, not just a usual 5 cleanup crew. It does look like he's going up to a Templar killing number here. The counter to this would obviously be either a fleet of Corsairs or a Dark Archon would be the ultimate counter. I don't know if Mighty's got that in his mind to get a Dark Archon out right now. I think he's just doing the normal Gateway Man style of just getting out like 2 control groups worth of goons to bodyguard his High Templars and work with that. He's trying to shark around the natural expansion area and see if he can do a dive bomb in. There's 3 Templars here that are next to the cannon, so it's kind of hard. Oh, he storms quite quickly on top of those mutants. Need to be careful where you place these storms. You don't storm your own probe lines. That's exactly what Sacsri's trying to force here, is killing his own probes like that with a few storms while diving in. They're trying to shark around and find more of those Templar kills. So far, Mighty, though, wants to just go for a big counter-attack and just put on the pressure. Has got quite a large count of these Dragoons, but only a couple of High Templars are supporting this. So with good concaves and storm dodging, Sacsri should overwhelm this.
Yeah, he's just going to dive right in on top of that. Great storm on the right-hand side, but this pure Dragoon fighting against Mutalisk plus Hydra is not going to go Mighty's way. Where are all the Zealots in this army is my question. He really is missing a big part of this.
Yeah, he really doesn't like Zealots. He thinks they're too strong. He wants to win in a more honorable way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Mighty, you know, he might have an honorable death here if he keeps playing like this. Saxury is getting bigger, and he managed to remove that storm threat. How are you actually going to push into Saxury now when he's got all these hatcheries online? And he's not going to miss a beat with his hatchery production, man. He's going to be making Hydras like crazy now and getting this base over in top right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's enough energy in these High Tempers to put some more pressure on, but I don't think so. I think Mighty might be just, you know, chilling on 3 base for a while, then trying to secure his own 4th base, which is going to be a nightmare for him by the time that comes around. If Sacsri does go undeterred and getting these additional bases up and running and saturated, that's not a good situation to be in as the Protoss player. The supplies do indicate a pretty strong position for the Zerg as well, but that's not what I'm looking at. What I'm looking at is the fact that we've got a 4th base coming online, and we should be able to saturate that as well. We've already won the fight that we're looking for as Zerg. We can afford to send a drone line up there anytime soon. We've got 1 single Zealot sharking around to see if we can find any kind of scouting information or maybe a drone train coming up to that top right. There is some forces to defend that though, so he's not going to be diving in now for some High Templar snipes. He's going to get at least 2. He can maybe even get more than that though. Like, I don't think these pure Dragoons are going to be enough to stop these from Mutalisk from causing absolute nightmare. He's going to just dive in and snipe any High Templar he sees, and that's going to be problematic now for Mighty. He's not going to have nearly enough storms available to him. Look at that. There's like 4 Templars that have died in less than a minute just to a few blade bounces from these Mutalists. Now there's enough Hydras to just come in and try and press the issue. There's hardly any splash available to Mighty. It's a single High Templar that's being chased by Mutalists. These Hydras will trade pretty well. There's maybe enough Dragoons here to make this fight not terrible for Mighty, but overall this is still a Zerg favored trade. It's like reducing the tank count in Terran versus Protoss. Even though you're not necessarily winning the game right then and there, just killing this many Dragoons is a big deal.
Yeah, it's gonna make this army so much less viable. Really doesn't have too much defending over at this 3rd either. Only 3 cannons. That's a lot of Hydras to come and challenge this. And Saxury actually get in here. Pretty rough game state from Mighty. Diving in, gonna get those 2 more Templar. Yeah, if you're just not gonna build Dark Archons, hey man, it's free real estate. Saxury just gonna get in there and park his camper, set up shop.
Right.
Nothing really you can do about it if he's just gonna allow all the Templar to get sniped like that. Saxury not even gonna think about building lurkers, just mass Hydra, and I'm gonna bowl you over.
It does give a tiny window of comeback potential to Mighty. It depends on just how good the macro cycles are of Sacsri. Some Zealots wrapping around the back to try and pin these Hydras down so the High Templars can get into position to lay down their blankets. Some Hydras being split off to deal with that, see if they can target down some of these High Templars. He's got hardly any High Templars out on the field, just 1 or 2 High Templars that are even out on the map right now. kind of worrisome for Mighty if he can't get enough units mobilized. Sacsri, though, did take a while in saturating this 4th base, it has to be said, so isn't mining super optimally. He was like kind of semi all in there, making sure he got something done. He did manage to accomplish some things, but now he needs to think about taking more bases and getting these bases saturated that he's already got.
A little bit surprised we don't see Saxury trying to get into a hive play. I thought he would be able to go for hive behind this, but he's sitting here on just 53 workers. That's good enough for 4 base economy. As a Zerg player, for sure, you're going to be getting a lot of units out and forward here with the Hydras. You're going to start to press the issue with some lurkers, but Mighty's managed to hang on. He is running low on some of these bases, though. His natural is almost gone. His main is pretty much out the window. It's pretty much gone now, so he is running very low on these minerals. Great storms there, getting rid of these lurkers. First lurker push not really working well for Saxury. He will be driven back.
He did target down both of those observers, but most of the lurkers were easily dealt with, so it didn't accomplish too much besides delaying the move out timing. Saxury starting to get some of these bases more online with a few more drones, and taking the gas up there will also be really great. He needs more resources pouring in right now. He's not going to have enough to kill Mighty, but he might have enough production to keep Mighty contained on 3 bases for quite some time. We'll have to eventually transition into this hive tech. If he doesn't, then he has to keep forcing fights with the Protoss and trying to end the game.
I would rather see Saxury go into a hive tech, man. I don't want to see him just layer this game out. Pure layer, man. I don't think that's the way Saxury is meant to play. He is a hive tech player through and through, and so we don't end up seeing that. I feel like he's not playing to his strength. Mighty gonna start to move forward here. Great concave on this force, but some storms are gonna come down. The dodges so far from Saxury. He's doing the best that he can to just pull back every time the storm gets cast. He is taking quite a few losses here. Saxury getting in and killing some of these Dragoons, though again, not a whole lot of Zealots in this force, mostly Dragoons, and so the Hydras are going to trade quite well. Diving forward here, Mighty, is he ready for this? Does he have any storms to try and stop it? More Dragoons are going down. Saxury going to back up into this concave once again.
I mean, I think this is going really well for Saxury. Like, he just needs to keep trading well like this and backing out and setting up the kill box yet again. He's getting more bases online and more saturation, so it's an untenable position for Mighty. Mighty is the one that has a clock on him right now. And that's doing. There's a Dark Temper in the natural third of Saxury. I don't think it actually can get in there and do anything, unfortunately. It would have been great if he could get some drone kills with that. Isn't able to really find anything, though.
Yeah, it actually just turned around and walked away. I didn't even see a sunken or anything like that, but
yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, I don't know why it ran away.
I guess it's going to go over here towards the top right. I believe there's a sunken colony there. There must be some units on the ramp as well. It kind of looks like there are. So Saxury blocks this DT out, and he's just got so much economy going. Can he actually get the production he needs to really utilize it all? He's got a lot of money in the bank here as this push out comes. Ooh, a big storm on those Hydras to the north. They took a lot of damage there. Most of them one shot away from dying. Any Dragoon damage is going to take them out, but the lurker line has not been broken, man. These lurkers are still going to keep shooting, and the Hydras are going to keep pushing forward. Look at all the blue blood scattered on this field. As it sinks into the ground, Mighty's hopes of winning this game start to sink with it.
Yeah, there's so much blue goo on the field right now, saying, I mean, this is just going Saxury's way. There's more economy for him to work with now, and more production as a result. Mighty's just going to tap out. That makes sense. If Mighty can't break out, there's just no way of winning the game. There's just too much production for Saxury, keeping him contained. Really big tempo lead for Saxury going ahead in this series now. I really do favor him to win and go through and join Barracks in the next round. He deserves to. He's definitely playing better than Ample or Mighty is, I think.
I think so too, dude. Mighty needs to make a Dark Archon, man. Why would you not make a Dark Archon? He spotted that Spire, remember, with his Corsair. He saw it coming.
Right.
But he just didn't prepare for it at all. I don't understand. It was completely free real estate there for Saxury, and he moved right in. takes over that game by sniping down the Templar and takes that game. Jumping into our next one here on Dominator. Saxury spawning in the top center. We've got Mighty in the bottom left. I guess it's the top left, bottom left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think of it as the top center because the natural kind of reaches out towards the middle, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of top center.
I know what you're saying, Saiyan.
Well, Mighty's gonna have to switch things up a little bit here, and especially prepare for beatless play because Saxury, I think he's kind of identified that that's a weakness out of this Protoss player.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see a better game from Mighty here. He seemed a little bit too flimsy in that last game against Saxury. Maybe he can pull out something a little bit more convincing on this map and make a fighting chance of it. It would be a shame to see him just get 2-0'd in a swift fashion. Would like to see at least a longer game where the Protoss player is able to get outside of his corner of the map and maybe take a fourth.
We'll see if that comes to pass, but for now, Mighty gonna rely on what got him into a pretty good position that first game. The gateway pressure. It didn't fully pay off. He didn't get a drone last game, but
no,
it did seem like he got some sort of a little bit of a tempo win out of that. It just seems like Saxury has such good control in this early game. The drones, the way that he was microing them in the mineral line was really impressive.
Yeah, he's improved a lot with his early game defense. He used to be a little bit of a slouch and just a macro guy. In the last year or so, he's really tidied up his play. He's not quite as much of a pushover as some of these players are when they first reach the pro scene. It does take many years of just getting beaten up by these guys. It's like I'm going to be going for a fake cannon rush here and try and like make an overreaction occur from Saxury. It looks like Saxury's just like not biting though. He's like, okay, buddy, sure, whatever you say.
Well, there is a forge being built, so maybe he can build a cannon here too. Is that a thing you can do? Yeah, I guess he is going to start a cannon.
It's so slow. Like this, he should be able to just deal with this. Like, I don't think this is going to be successful.
Well, the Zealot's coming up. Let's see if he can actually save the pylon. That's quite a bit of damage. Oh, he is going to lose the probe, though. The probe goes down. That pylon is getting kind of low, man. You're going to have to build another pylon here. He builds the pylon just barely. Can't start another cannon. He's going to use the probe and the Zealot to try and deal some damage. The probe goes down immediately. Really good hold so far from Saxury. And that pylon's way out here, man. It's pretty easy to get in range of that with that follow-up sunken. Let's see if the two Zealots can actually stop the sunken from going down and then get into a position where they can block the cannon from being attacked.
Right, this is going to be a little bit interesting if he can somehow kill the sunken. It's going to be actually really close. He needs to kill the Zealots right now, or once that finishes, it'll be one shot and will instantly die like that. Does kill the Zealot, but not quite quick enough. It's a little bit annoying. He will still be able to deal with this, but it's now a bit of a win for Mighty, causing this much of a hiccup, making it a little bit more cost inefficient in cleaning up. It's not a bad idea to go for something like this. It is going to pay off in a little way. It's not like the game is over or anything. I actually feel like Saxury's dealt with it efficiently enough that maybe it's even slightly Saxury-sided.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I thought that Mighty would actually put the Zealots in front of the cannon to buy more time.
He's just dead. He's just dead.
Oh god.
Mighty's dead.
Oh god.
Yeah, Mighty didn't even start a cannon. Yeah, he's in trouble.
Oh, he wanted to build a Nexus, man. He's gonna build this Nexus. He's got two Zealots in the wall, but this is a lot of Lings. And he's gonna start to hit this gateway. Waiting a bit longer here. Another Zealot. Okay, another Zealot pops out. He's gonna be okay for now, but yeah, this is a tough position. I guess Saxury gonna go back home, kill that pylon, and get a third base online. Who's actually ahead right now?
Saxury. It's definitely Saxury. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Mighty's still going to have a fighting chance here with this Nexus coming down. And we'll be able to get some more probes out. Wow, I just looked at the drone count. Wow,
Yeah,
20 drones here. It's kind of crazy to the 17 probes.
Yeah, I thought he was dead. I thought the second Zealot that was out had only just popped out, so I thought the third Zealot wouldn't be anywhere near in time. He just barely had that third Zealot popping out in time, though, so it doesn't just straight up die at least, which is good. But I still think there's a lot to make up for Mighty. It's going to be a very Mount Everest-y kind of hill to climb.
There's that third base finishing for Saxury. He's going to start to saturate that. Doesn't really have too much of a concern right now since Mighty has no information out on the map. Can't really push out with these Zealots right now. There's already enough Lings to kind of deal with that. And so if he tries to push out here, he's most likely just going to lose all of the Zealots and maybe even get counterattacked by some Lings. There's only one cannon here in the natural. There's not a really good response from Mighty. Here he comes. He's moving out on the map. If Ling speeds finishes suddenly and Saxury just runs by this, all right, he's actually just going to surround and kill the Zealots. Rather than running by into the natural and killing the cannon, he's just going to kill the Zealots. That's fine. That way he just can completely drone out from this, and Mighty's not going to have any sort of push timing for a long time.
I just don't even see there being much play for Mighty at all. Like, I don't know how he's going to do any damage to Saxury unless there's like a Dark Templar slipping by or something. I just don't see it. Like, the supplies right now indicate that there's also an almost zero chance of Mighty from making something happen here. The even worker counts is just not ideal at 7 minutes into the game. Mighty is going to be on the back foot for quite some time. This is around the time he should be throwing down a crazy amount of gateways and start pumping out units. He can't even do that. Like, he's going to be scraping by, just getting his economy off the ground before he starts to add too many gateways.
Saxury is a excellent macro player to be able to take advantage of this economic lead and position he's found himself in. Should be very difficult for Mighty to undo, to find a way of pulling himself into a lead. Here comes those two Scourge. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll give him a little bit of time here. Let him cook. See what Mighty can bring to the table from this deficit. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve. Maybe he can pull out some DT play like you were saying. Corsair DT can be the comeback king.
It could definitely work, yeah. And if there's no Overlord at the third or something, or the Overlord gets sniped perfectly, things can happen. He didn't lose a Corsair yet, so that's at least something. Templar Archives finishing up super late. I mean, the Archives is finishing at around the time Storm should almost be finished. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's quite a heavy commitment going for Zealots and Cannons. And Saxury held it with flying colors. Now going to push out with some Hydras, put on even more pressure here. Your opponent is down and struggling. Putting on some more pressure like this, forcing out, for example, a bunch of cannons at this front. It's just going to be so difficult to sustain. Mighty doesn't have hardly any cannons at this front. The moment he sees these Hydras approach, just going to tap out. And a GG here.
This was kicking a man when he was down, quite literally, saying there wasn't much ability for Mighty to fight back in this game, hence the very quick tap out there. He just was so far behind the tech curve of the game. He doesn't even have the responses necessary to not die. He can't afford to make loads of cannons and defend that and then not be able to throw down any gateways. There's just no good answer for Mighty. No matter what he does, he's dead.
Well, with that coming to a conclusion, guys, we've got both Barracks and Saxury making it through Group A. They're going to progress here into our next round. We've got plenty more amazing groups coming up here in the round of 32, guys. Stick around for upcoming matches We can't wait to bring you more great action here in the SCSL 4 and many more great seasons to come. Group B, mini calm action. Tyson actually took out JYJ in this season of ASL. He's been playing kind of crazy.
Yeah, he did in the qualifiers. Yeah, we saw some good games from Calm as well. Very interesting Zerg, bit of a brain box, knows how the game is played. Not always the best at executing things, but really does understand the game on a different level. Action's got some of the best defiler control out of the entire scene, if not the best defiler control in the trials. He's not really been performing super hot lately. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on him to see how well he plays. If we do see some better performance from him, I'm going to be feeling happier about his chances in the ASL. But as it stands, I'm not liking his form. I would like to see how good Mini is too.
And look at Group G. We got a Flash cosplayer down here. Bishop is going to be playing random in this tournament.
Yeah.
Wants to catch some of that fire in the bottle. Maybe get make a name for himself by playing random. Let's see how far he can get with that. I'm excited to see what kind of matchups he's going to end up getting against Sharp, Zealot, and Noob.
I mean, yeah, Zealot in that group as well. There's going to be fireworks. There's going to be all kinds of crazy shenanigans in that group. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one when it rolls around.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be wild. Again, we haven't seen a high-level tournament like this with a random player in it since Flash made that attempt.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting anybody else to throw it in. Oh, maybe like a Sulky or somebody to try that. But Bishop here, kind of out of left field, Xun. Going for it random here. Maybe just, yeah, giving it a try. See how he can do.
See if he can do anywhere close to how good Flash did. I'm not so sure, but at the very least, it might be exciting to watch. I'm also excited that we got the likes of 815 making an appearance, named after the map 815. He's a pretty good Zerg player. Would be fun to see how he stacks up against True, the StarCraft 2 guy. Yeah, I really do like how some of these groups are shaping up. So I'm looking forward to bringing these guys more games.
And with that, guys, we're at the end of Group A. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back shortly with Group B. Stick around, make sure to subscribe, like the video. See you there.
Thanks, guys.